Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the most European podcast in the world. You might notice that I'm absent. My partner in crime, my co-host aficionado, Luke Knight, but here he is.
I'm
He was.
I'm here.
Should we do that again? You want to be part of the countdown?
I was just doing my makeup, that's all.
Luke's been in hair and makeup. It's obviously not gone very well, as you can tell. You want to do the countdown again? We're just playing with
I'm a bit tangled. I can't hear anything, but let's do it.
You want to go again?
3.
You missed out on that.
3, 2, 1.
Let's run it back.
Go.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go.
what a docket, what a lineup.
Let's go.
We're looking at a nuts day today.
Sam Stevenson, founder of Granola, is coming on straight off the back of raising
125 mil, Series C, 1.5 bill valuation. That, my
$1.5 billion
friend,
valuation
is Europe's newest unicorn. You'll have to see it.
Indeed.
Sam is going to be joining us at 11:45 today, slightly earlier than our usual docket lineup. But what a day we have for you all today. Should we maybe go through the lineup? Yes, we should. Before I go ahead and do that, I want to tell you about our friends over there at Airwallex. Leave outdated business banking behind. With Airwallex, it's the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments. It's all in one platform. Get over to airwallex.com to check those guys out.
Indeed.
On the docket today, real quick, just going to run through these. Stepan Simkin, CEO at Squads. That's at Multisig. Going to be joining the stream today. He's already done a tweet showing his outfit. It's him on his way to the ETN show. We're excited to jump into that. We've got Ben Prade, partner at Bullhound Capital. That is the venture arm from GP Bullhound. He's going to be tuning in straight after Stepan. We've got Michelle Yu, co-founder and CEO of Supercritical. They just took something, what was a 1 million ton carbon removal.
Yes, they've just done like the biggest.
I
think it's they facilitated. I think the biggest carbon removal like transaction or something or project. I think
with Microsoft and another incumbent. So doing real work there for the planet that we love
not
to
just
see.
building SaaS. They're
Keeping us
doing real
safe.
work.
We got Samuel Beek, ex-CPO of Veed, joining. He recently left Veed to start Schematic. He's taken a step into the dark side. He is now a
Building
founder.
Cursor for hardware.
It's Cursor for hardware. You love to see it. We got Jens Hilgers, one of the OG gaming guys. Back in the 2000s was building LAN studios. Now he's founding general partner at Bitcraft VC. We're going to be digging into what they're up to. I've got a few questions about the metaverse. They're quite big on synthetic reality and world models. We got Georgina Stevenson, partner at Index. We're going to be talking about the Granola deal. We're going to be talking about what Index are up to. Index actually led the Granola deal. It's 125 million Series C.
I'm gassed to speak to them because
at a $1.5
it's going to
billion
be interesting. I want to know. I just want to know their thesis behind it. However much percentage that increase is from 250 million to what $1.5 billion valuation in 10 months as well is bonkers. So it's going to be really cool to talk to founder Sam in 30 minutes and then or 40 minutes and then talk to the guys that actually ran the deal. It's going to be interesting. She's got some really cool little bits about basically just community AI, like all of that kind of stuff. Like nice. she does a lot of work in the early stage, pre-seed to Series A kind of stuff in community building, consumer stuff, consumer AI, that kind of vibe. So it's going to be super interesting.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Really pumped for that. Let's also not forget Georgia Stevenson's background is absolutely insane. Board member of Morello AI. We've had the founders on there doing like an audio layer, ex-musicians based in Berlin. They raised an obscenely large pre-seed around, I think it was. Index and A16Z led that a while back. Board observer for Motorway, board observer for Empathy, board observer for Linktree. We've got a Cambridge history degree. Georgia is one of the elites. She's been at Index for nearly 7 years. September 2019.
Doing deals.
Doing
this deal for 7 years.
For nearly 7 years.
You've got to do it.
First on the news docket, should we just jump straight in? We were going to review the Granola deal. Maybe we should do it as a refresher.
Let's go back. Should we do it now? Let's just do it now.
I think just like a nice intro just before Sam comes on.
First sneeze of the whole show, no.
You had a sneeze there, did you?
I thought you were going to... Yeah, I thought you just
No,
coined me sneezing.
Oh, yeah. I was coining, like, I was talking about granola, but it seemed to.
Yeah, let's jump into the Bloomberg article. Came out on Bloomberg yesterday, of course, 12 p.m. GMT. So about 24 hours
They got
ago.
the scoop. They had the drop. They had the scoop on us.
They had the drop. Granola Inc., a startup whose artificial intelligence software has been gaining traction as a note-taking tool among Silicon Valley workers, is raising $125 million at a $1.5 billion valuation, led by none other than Index Ventures. Index partner Danny Reimer, who joins Granola's board as an observer. Kleiner Perkins is also participating in the deal, alongside existing investors, including Lightspeed. Oh, I didn't know Lightspeed were involved. And Spark Capital. Shout out to the Lightspeed team. They're dope. Granola's product transcribes, everyone knows what Granola's product does, transcribes conversations and uses AI to turn rough data meetings into complete summaries. Chief Executive Chris Pedgrill said that many of its corporate customers, which include companies like Kirsta and Gusto, have adopted the technology after individual employees started using it, and something similar happened at Index, Reimer said. Multiple people at the firm were using the technology by the time we considered investing. I think that paragraph speaks a lot, basically. I'm going to do this simultaneously while talking.
Putting it
live Framer loading.
Let me tell you about Framer. Build better sites faster. The all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. We moved our site from ETN to Framer ourselves. It was easy. You can too at framer.com/ETN.
Indeed.
Just a quick re-up on. You hear that? That's the sound of quality.
That's the sound of quality. That's the sound of Framer. Go to framer.com/ETN. Anyway, this paragraph specifically talks to the whole ecosystem, to be honest. I mean, you mentioned it this morning when we were talking about it this morning. Granola has become a verb. And when a product becomes a verb, it has, it's achieved PMF.
I'm going to Uber there. Why don't you just
escape
Google
velocity?
Hey, did you granola that meeting?
Yeah.
You know, that's like when we come into the verbiage.
Also,
that's like
I haven't thought about this, but their socials are not that big. Like they haven't pushed. Obviously, they have consumer. I think they
don't need it.
20,000. But that's the thing; they don't need it because it's a
word of mouth.
It's word of mouth. Yeah. It's an inherently viral product. It's almost like a perfect example of like when Calendly dropped. I can't remember when that was. Maybe like 20.
I'll send it you, but to get on it, you have to like.
Well, no, it's like, should we set up a meeting? It's like, yeah, here's my calendar, and they're like, what? Click on the link. Oh, Calendly. Here's this person's calendar with all their free spots. They were like, no way, I need to use that.
Genius.
Referral little link within.
Genius.
Just like obviously inherently, genius, inherently viral product, which is super cool. Similar to the way that Granola works. And
so I just think on that, because like Sam is a designer at heart, designer, co-founder, and it's on his LinkedIn bio. I think designer becomes before founder, which I think is a really cool thing and something especially important today. And I think that they don't get, two things. One, I don't think they get enough credit for everyone knows the branding is great, but I don't think they get enough credit for how much this thing took off, especially
after
in
their rebrand as well.
I thought, and then I'll come on to the rebrand. How quickly this thing took off in an actually pretty competitive space. Like there were a number of AI note-taking apps. Out at the time. I remember we were saying, I know someone who passed on Granola and they backed someone else and
Harry Sterring's
too well.
Right, actually one of the best tweets of the day off the back of the.
Wait, I saw this. I've got it. I want to go through this on the screen share. Wait, should we just get it up now?
Let's get it up now.
This is so funny.
It's a good segue into it.
This is so funny.
So obviously. Founder Chris
so joke.
Announced their Series C, and
I can share this. Hold on, let me pull this up.
And Harry Stebbings quote tweeted and said, "Just saying, at Kieran Lee Hill passed on this at the pre-seed. I wanted to do it, but Kieran passed. Always blame your teammate."
The thread, this got 42,000 views. The thread, Kieran Hill comes in, disappearing messages weren't a thing with WhatsApp back in Feb 23. Let's publish the evidence, big man. Harry comes back, I dare you. We see Alex McDonald come in as well. Criticize your team in public, praise them in private, or something like that. Upside down smooth. Harry says, nailed it. This is the culture at 20VC. But there was always, This one, Paul's post was so funny. It's always Kieran Lee Hill. We'd all be rich if it was not for him. And then
Big man
Harry,
Paul Bonnet.
Harry comes back again, and even Chris, founder of Granola, gets involved. And Harry says,
did he? No way. Where's Chris?
He comes in with a couple he's. Harry says, you remember, Chris, I was all in. Then Kieran came in and said the market was too small. You remember that, right? You love to see it. You love to see a nice bit of banter on the timeline. Indeed. Around maybe the most banterous thread of the day, potentially of the week. When I saw that last night, I was just in hysterics.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
What do you think you'd do if you saw? Because I used to have this when I would trade stocks, not well, very badly. But if I bought a stock and then, or NFTs was probably a better example. If I bought an NFT and then sold it, or like if I decided to pass on a certain investment, I would spend my whole time checking what the floor price was, checking where it's at. And I'm only now realizing, I feel sorry for some of these VCs that do end up having to see their anti-portfolio paraded around.
What was that story from Alex, who said, I passed and I lost out on
on 11 Labs.
He didn't pass on 11 Labs.
No, he didn't do his normal angel check size. I think Harry even says, I think it's one of Harry's rules, I think, that you always do the same size angel check.
Yeah.
And this was one of the occasions in which Alex did not and then adopted the rule, but it was something like a 45 million sort of like gains loss, like an opportunity cost type of thing. So I guess a message for everyone out there, as Harry says, you got to follow the rules that he makes. You cannot change your angel check size.
Yeah. Well, this is different. They just didn't come into the round.
They didn't come in the round here. But it's obviously
good banter.
Kieran's fault.
Shout out to 20VC.
So you love to see that. You love to see that on the timeline. But yes, maybe going back to Granola, they've raised this enormous round. And I think that it's a
shift as well, right?
It's definitely a shift, but I want to go back to the rebrand. This has come post-rebrand. I'm just going to say it may be somewhat of a hot take. I like the rebrand. I like the rebrand. I think it's good. I think it looks like a product that you can trust,
Nice.
It gives me Anthropic vibes of like Claude, it's organic.
Yeah. It gives me Anthropic vibe. It's like it's almost like, I hope they don't take this the wrong way, but it's grainy.
Grainy, I think
is that fair?
I think that is fair.
It gives you some form of like, it's been drawn with a pencil.
Yeah, which is like note taking. The name Granola, healthy. It's a good fibrous breakfast.
I don't know why they called it granola, but we'll have to ask Sam why they called it granola. But no, I think when they rebranded, there was a lot of people that were like, why have you rebranded? Don't get it, whatever.
It's part of the mission. You always got to be, there's always a rebrand when you go in enterprise. Got to change things.
I think they've done such a good job of bringing like the humanity side into like with their community, not just like, I think a lot of companies kind of a lot of companies preach the fact that like, they're like, oh, we want to bring the human in the loop with AI, we don't want to just like fire everyone, blah blah blah. But I think it's inherently part of the mission and the product that humans they're using AI to work with humans, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a very good job, particularly with kind of pushing that narrative. So whoever's on the marketing team, salute you.
Well, we had Jack on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Tunro, maybe. Sorry, Jack. We had Jack on. Jack was behind the Granola Wrapped, which is an awesome marketing stunt.
Always does pretty well.
That landed super well.
Yeah,
took over the timeline.
Because a lot of companies do it. They, as I just mentioned, have done it pretty well.
And there's a social element built into that, right? I want to share my Granola Wraps. Like, what did I talk about the most? What do I want to get out there? What was my top 5 meetings of the year?
Yeah.
So that was really cool. There's also a point in here. So this article, by the way, on Bloomberg is by Rebecca Torrance. Who had an inside look. I think they may have had the exclusive. As of mid-March, Granola's revenue had grown by 2.5 times since the beginning of the year, Pedregal said, and declining to discuss other overall figures. But alongside the funding, the startup is launching new features for its app, including integrations with AI coding tools like Anthropic's, PBC's, Claude Code, as well as Teams workspaces where employees can pull their notes. What I'm quite interested to see is that how they have all this funding. It's been growing organically, essentially, since inception by word of mouth, which is something that all founders dream of. What the money's probably going to be sort of pushed towards a US expansion. I think they're hiring full teams in SF. They've got offices there. If
they already have an office there. I mean,
they opened it maybe already. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember chatting about that.
But they'll definitely be hiring for sure.
But certainly hiring. Scaling the team, probably both here in Europe and also in the States. So if you want to join a rocket ship, go and check out Granola's X page, LinkedIn page, their careers page.
Who have just grown their valuation from $250 to $1.5 billion in 10 months.
Insane. They're just crushing it over there.
Bonkers. Paul Murphy actually came on the timeline. I think this was this morning. This morning at 10 past 11, so 9 minutes ago. Shout out to Paul Murphy. At Paul BZ, he says, when we backed Chris and Sam, founders of Granola, pre-seed, we didn't know exactly what they wanted to build, but believed these were two of the best product minds we'd met. Amazing watching them build one of the most loved productivity tools of our time over the last 3 years. There they are. We've got
Paul
Sam,
Murphy,
who's on the right,
Lightspeed.
to come on the show.
Also, getting praise from Paul is like
minutes.
It's almost like winning a gold medal on the timeline.
Paul is a legend.
Because Paul has done both the founder side and the operator side. We had Paul on the show. Actually, on our first show.
Yeah, we have to get Paul back on.
I would love to have Paul
Gangster.
back on. Paul, if you're watching, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah. Haven't spoken to Paul in a while.
But congrats to the team. As we mentioned earlier, Lightspeed have previously backed Granola. They've come in again on this round. I think, the new investors that were welcomed were obviously Index-led, and Kleiner Perkins also came in. Just some huge names, heavy hitters, and I guess we'll dig into it a bit more with
Manual
with
clap.
Sam. So manual clap.
Moving swiftly on, let's go and talk about the OpenAI killing Sora.
Oh, no.
This is super interesting. Before we jump into that, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on chain. Go to base.org if you want to go and earn on chain. Let's jump in.
Sora's dead.
So the FT released an article titled "OpenAI to End Disney Deal and Sora Video App." Super interesting. Two sides of this story. Surprised they didn't. I guess they've done this, in tandem, but two big things have happened, right? Sora gone, Sora app gone, Disney deal squashed after like 4 months. OpenAI will shutter its, No, that's what it says. At the top of is that OpenAI will shutter its video generation model, Sora.
Yeah. Sure.
Shut. Okay, anyway, OpenAI will shutter its video generation model Sora and drop a $1 billion agreement with Disney less than 4 months after the two companies agreed what was hailed as a groundbreaking licensing agreement. Sam Altman's AI startup on Tuesday announced it would discontinue the Sora video app launched last September to focus its computing resources on other priorities such as robotics. I feel like you want to say something.
Yeah, I kind of. Well, I'm locked in right now. You carry on.
The tie-up between Disney and OpenAI was viewed as a big step. Yeah, this was a big deal 4 months ago. Do you remember? As a big step for both companies, which would have allowed Mickey Mouse, Luke Skywalker, and 200 other characters to appear within Sora. Altman at the time said demand for Disney characters on the platform was off the charts.
I'd love to know who said that though. Who? I'm in owl mode. They've turned me into a bloody owl. I don't know who is saying this. Who is demanding that we get Disney characters into? I don't. What we all say is
no one's demanding, but they are.
So demand was off the charts. Everyone was demanding it. Apparently,
no. The demand of using them, but they've now come out as of yesterday and said that the demand wasn't there and no one really cared.
The demand wasn't off the charts.
And I think the reason being is because Sora, the app, had, lots of people can go and create a video with Sora. Great, go and do that. But the app only has a few million users, maybe tens of million users, right?
Yeah.
In terms of like a social media, Instagram, TikTok, billions of users. I think Instagram has 1 billion users.
I think the overall, I mean, this obviously is part of their redirection to just focus on, we're killing all side.
Yeah, true. Right? But I think what I'm trying to do is give a bit of flavor on like the fact that if you're starting a social media, like you need those those. If I go and create a really good video on Sora, I'm not going to like. I'm not going to nerf myself and be like, I'm going to post it on Sora because that's where I've created it. I'm going to pick it up and put it on where everyone else is, which is Instagram. So I think they were never going to win.
No. But let's not forget the sentiment around this deal collapsing has been people are euphoric. Like everyone is celebrating. Like, thank God this is not going through. A lot of non-tech native individuals as well are celebrating this because it was somewhat seen as an attack on the creative space. People were saying, I don't want your AI over here in my creative world. Please get out. And everyone's been sort of celebrating this as finally it's not gone ahead. It's not gonna work. Some people even saying this is the sort of the catalyst that is required to pop the AI bubble. I've seen, which debatable, but. The FT right, the move comes after Altman in December declared a code red inside OpenAI and urged staff to focus on its core priorities, including competing with Anthropic for business customers and maintaining ChatGPT's edge against Google and other rivals. For those who aren't aware, Sora allowed users to generate short clips, and they were all basically AI generated. I'd love to get up some of the examples that we've got.
Indeed.
Some of my favorite.
This is all on a push to move away from. So he's creating a super app now, right? Where it's you've got Codex. You've got the chat function, and what was the other one? I can't remember. But he's basically creating a super app now, basically like what Claude is.
They're trying to stop all the stupid stuff to do.
Yeah. Well, and then they're just consolidating into one super app, and that's
just
that's the product. That's
mission.
The focus. That's
back
the product.
On the mission.
Good on them. Which I think. Considering how well the other models are doing in the market specifically, not necessarily the model performance, but as we've been talking about the narrative changes of what's going on, it's clear they need to do something like this to make sure that they are ahead of the game.
I'm going to pull up. This is thoughts from Clement, who is the co-founder of Hugging Face. Clem says, "Would be cool if OpenAI open source Sora as they're shutting down the app. Would be an amazing contribution to the field and make all the efforts of the teams working on it even more meaningful."
That would be cool.
Definitely approve this message. I just can't see them doing it. It's becoming increasingly more cagey. I think for these,
they are becoming increasingly more cagey. For sure.
AI labs, just sort of putting the walls up. This is all my stuff. I'm not going to share it. I don't imagine that there would be a sort of a comparative disadvantage to actually doing that with other models. Maybe they could get into Sora and have a look at it. Yes, but if everyone right now is so focused on the mission, I don't see how they'd even have time to spend looking at that. I mean, obviously, if your competitor releases something, you're probably going to check it out. But I can't see Anthropic having a look at all that, the Sora model and being oh, this is interesting. Maybe we should no, I can't see that. But I do agree.
I think there's a day where that becomes a potential.
Maybe in the future. But everyone seems to be just so locked in on the this AGI race right now, right? And OpenAI, I've seen what happens when they start playing with all these fun little side projects.
What happens with this lever? Oh no, this lever's cool as well. Let's pull that.
Right. And remember
Sam, and then the main thing is gone.
Yeah, everyone's what's happening to our North Star over here? It's dwindling. But that is our thoughts, Clem. We agree. That would be nice.
That'd be cool.
Definitely one for the community as well. And Hugging Face, known for being the open source community of the AI world. So that is Clem over at Hugging Face. We approve that message.
Indeed. Let's jump into the videos.
Okay.
What do you find those? Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com.
Let's forget the greatest Sora clip.
I put two in there, but the greatest one is...
So this was the one that went the most viral when it first dropped. Sorry. One sec. Let's just make sure. So this is from Spore at Sporadika.
Which
Sora.
instrument do you find the most funny?
For the wait, you've got the
bagpipes are my favourite.
Oh, the bagpipes one is good. Do we have that?
I watched this whole thing this morning. Are you watching it again? Okay, wait.
It's midnight. Give me that. No, sir. No more fiddle tonight. Got it? Inside with this thing. Go home.
They get the cat movements so well.
These are actually really good.
Yep, you're done. I'm taking it inside. Go back to your bed.
There's a slight tell.
Look at the way the cat moves. It's so good.
No, it is good.
Sora's cracked.
Even the tension between.
Oh my god.
Quit it. It's midnight. Give me those sticks. No more concerts tonight. You hear me? Inside with these. Go home.
I didn't know that one was.
It's got 6.5 million views.
No more playing tonight. You hear me? Inside with these. Go home.
Oh man, I'm crying, bro. I did not. Mate, I thought this stopped at the piano.
It's the
I didn't know this was still going.
Inside with it. Go home.
Is there more?
Okay, right.
Okay,
There's too many. That's so good. So good. We're sad. Sora's come
man.
back. Come
I
back.
missed Sora
Someone open
already.
source, guys. Open source Sora, and we'll have more fun times.
I missed Sora already. I did not know that there were more. I only saw like the first few seconds of the clip yesterday, and I was like, oh, let's put that in. Thank you for that, Spore. That's really brightened my day. What a shame. What a shame to lose Sora. We will remember you.
Indeed.
There is
we
one
will.
more I just want to jump on very quick in this realm.
There's another Sora clip. I kind of want to play.
No, we
it.
can't do more. What is that?
It's only 3 seconds. It's 3 seconds. Just play it.
Okay, hold on. Oh, okay. This is getting a bit out of hand. I'm trying to sure we're sharing the screen here. Why?
So good.
Why are they all cat and instrument related? Maybe this is like the meta. That's a great one. Going back to more on the actual story, not the clip. So funnily enough, the Disney team, obviously they had this $1 billion deal on the table, but they weren't
signed.
They were signed. Yeah, ready to go.
Fully working.
So this is Andrew Curran. Sora is being discontinued. There were rumors, but I assume this was going to be limited to the app. Looks like this is comprehensive. However, even the API, this is sad to see for me personally. And then sort of, screenshotted a...
That's just a summary of what they did. But the interesting thing is
it's a scoop from Burbage on what's happening. But then in addition to that, apparently Disney was completely blindsided by the Sora decision. They had no idea. So March 24th from Reuters, on Monday evening, Walt Disney Co. and OpenAI teams were working together on a project linked to Sora, OpenAI's AI
so
video
ruthless.
tool. Just 30 minutes after the meeting, the Disney team was blindsided with word that OpenAI was dropping the tool altogether. A person familiar with the matter said, this is nuts in terms of like comms and communications. Like imagine you're working on a project with a pretty, substantially large entity. And the way you find out is by... I mean, I guess it must be what they're saying is they just saw the announcement 30 minutes after coming out of a meeting, which is like, again, OpenAI, not known for their expertise within comms, but that must have been like somewhat of a shocking experience. I guess it highlights the fact is like how quickly they're trying to course correct the ship. They are quite literally, I mean, they're not even telling their clients that they're getting to roll this out. They're trying to move as quick as possible.
I don't understand why there isn't more talk on like OpenAI is kind of not in a good place, and they're shutting things down like left, right, and center, and there isn't much. I mean, maybe I've got the wrong end of the stick here, but like there isn't much talk about it.
I think people are... There was a piece released yesterday, I think, on the information. It might have been the information on like OpenAI doing everything badly. But I think that...
It just seems like Anthropic can't really put a foot,
wrong right now. Yeah, it does seem like they're on absolute tear. But I think the let's say like the fans of OpenAI, I don't even know what you call them, like people who use the product, people who love the product.
The users,
sorry, the fans, big OpenAI foam finger, Sam's number one. They are seeing this redirection and this like, let's close down everything on site. I think they're seeing it as like a bullish signal in the same way that the market saw Block's layoffs as like, this is good for the company. Same fashion with OpenAI in terms of like, let's just stop all these side projects, focus on mission. People are like,
I think it has to get worse to get better. Like you have to build a new home, you have to, break down the old one.
You got to knock it down.
Yeah. And so
That's what he's
maybe that's that's clearly the thesis.
Rebuilding brick by brick.
Anyway, we don't have too much longer. Let's move on to the China news. This is interesting. Very interesting. So a piece came out on the FT, I believe this is this morning. Yesterday. With the headline, China reviews $2 billion Manus sale to Meta as founders barred from leaving the country. Just a bit of context. Essentially, China is reviewing the Meta $2 billion deal with Manus to buy Manus and to integrate it into Meta's ecosphere, an entity. And China have said, no, you can't do that. This is
not in my house.
Yeah, not in my house. Exactly. The article reads: China has restricted two co-founders of Manus from leaving the country as regulators review whether Meta's $2 billion acquisition of the AI agent company violates Beijing's investment rules. Manus' chief executive Zhao Hong and chief scientist Ji Hichao were summoned to a meeting in Beijing, with the National Development and Reform Commission this month, according to three people with knowledge of the matter. They said Zhao and Ji were questioned on potential violations of foreign direct investment rules related to its onshore Chinese entities. After the meeting, the Singapore-based executives, Singapore-based executives were told they were not allowed to leave China because of regulatory review, while they remain free to travel within the country, two of the people said. The reason I said that they've called them Singapore-based executives is because Manus was started in China. It then relocated to Singapore because of the ability to access US investors and to access potential acquisition as well. Essentially, if Manus was still headquartered in China, they wouldn't have been able to do a deal with Meta because China just would have blocked it straight away. They set up another co in Singapore, completely relocated, and that was how it all worked. And that was one reason why the regulators didn't catch it. Other reason is because they just went so quickly. They knew that the Chinese regulators would say no to this, and they just speed run the whole thing, and basically bypass the regulators on speed. And so it's an interesting one. I don't know how much people know too much about China, but China's state has a lot of control on tech companies specifically, or companies really in general, where if a competitor is getting too good and they don't like it, they can provide subsidies to other competestors to kind of nerf the other company. Area. Yeah, a bit of a grey area in the Chinese state. And so basically what investing in the Chinese markets is very tough because you can't necessarily, back a winner just based on the fundamentals of a business. Because the regulators might actually just nerf that business and help the others. This is a really weird market that happens and it's going on. I know Chamath had a interesting take. Do you want to pull it up?
Chamath says the China AI complex is much more nuanced than what it appears on the surface. This is in response to someone breaking down what the founders did. So quickly with Lina Hao. So the Manus founders transferred the company to Singapore and sold their business to Meta for $2 billion. They thought they were being clever for circumventing China's export controls. You don't F with the CCP like that. Lina is based in China, relevant for the context of this tweet. And then Chamath comes in and says, the China AI complex is much more nuanced than what it appears on surface. Open source, open weights, cheaper, faster, better value props. When you factor in the CCP and their long-term objectives. Also, I mostly stopped hearing about Manus after OpenClaw. Do folks use this? If so, for what? That I've sort of traditionally been pretty bearish on this particular type of technology. Yeah. I think it's really great. Manus did a great job launching this. Their consumer launch was one of the most viral launches of that year, which is about 2023 now. They nailed the go-to-market. They nailed creating suspense. It was very engaging. You could sort of tweet at the account and then it would build what you wanted for you and tweet it back at you. And it was really it was like a mini OpenClaw moment. I remember people were saying this is AGI. Obviously that changes over time. But they had one somewhat quiet. Chamath here is sort of asking, like, what do we use this for? And then Tom Osman comes in and gives his take, which is a more bullish perspective, saying Manus is so incredibly underrated. I think people will only realize when Facebook earnings come out, top and bottom line, top line best media buyer and manager available across FB ecosystem, bottom line able to replace many thousands of employees once it's rolled out for internals. Chamath says this makes sense. If I'm honest, based off the capabilities that we're seeing in some of the demos and stuff, like I don't think we're not quite there with the lay off 1,000 employees and replace them with Manus. I don't think that's like. Yeah, but I'm not saying we're not there now.
I wouldn't be.
I'm saying we're not there now.
I wouldn't be bullish unless I would not be bullish unless I had unless Meta like acquired it. I think the fact that it's now integrating, it's integrating into Meta's whole ecosystem. I think that's the bullishness that I would like latch onto.
Yeah.
Or the reason why I would be bullish. And it's interesting because this deal, if China are able to, I don't know how they would stop it necessarily, but if they were, they would have to like basically rip Manus out of Meta. Because the deal's been done.
Yeah,
they're integrating in the process of integrating into the company, and so I don't know how that works. You have to unintegrate. All of these PE veterans integrating. Now you got to reverse that thing and unintegrate.
You need, like forward deployed engineers, but in reverse.
Backward deployed engineers.
I mean, that's the term coined. Backward deployed engineers.
Coin that term. The lion.
Oh, you want the lion? Sorry.
Hey.
Your favorite one.
Anyway, leave out his business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all-in-one platform. Go to airwallex.com. Moving on, we have 5 minutes until Sam's joining us. Let's talk about Epic Games. I know you were super interested about this story.
So this is just nuts.
For
those who didn't see, Epic Games, this is the newest development in the world of layoffs. Epic Games has laid off over 1,000 employees, citing Fortnite downturn. Interesting phrasing. This has been an absolute PR disaster for Epic Games. They couldn't have done this worse. And to be honest, it's mostly been driven by the CEO and founder and his communication skills that he took to X to basically announce the layoffs. But Epic, to give some more information, Epic announced the layoff on March 24th, that was 2 days ago, sharing the news in an internal memo authored by Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney that the company published on its website this morning. In the memo, Sweeney writes that the decision was the result of a mixture of industry-wide and company-specific challenges, including a general downturn in spending on games and increased competition against other increasingly interactive forms of entertainment, as well as a slow start rolling Fortnite out on smartphones following Epic's legal battles against Apple and Google in recent years. He stressed that the decision was not a result of AI technology, which is a counterwave to what we've seen previously, citing the block layoffs. Klarna back in, that was like a year and a half ago now, but the theme is for these layoffs, it's AI is getting really good. We don't need this many people on the company, bottom line anymore. We can replace them with AI and save some money. But this has backfired a little bit for Mr. Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games, because it leaves the existing employees thinking, well, if it wasn't because of AI and we were all doing a good job, where do we stand? And there've been some good. Maybe we'll start by showing Tim Sweeney taking to X. Tim Sweeney says, in the coming days, employers will see a stream of resumes of once-in-a-lifetime quality folks. An important thing to understand is that Epic never lowered our hiring standards as we grew, and the layoffs wasn't a performance-based right-sizing, as companies call it nowadays. It's a sound bet that anyone with Epic Games on their resume is in the top few % of their discipline. And he got torn apart for this. People have sort of criticized the decision. It's become quite clear from the employees that are speaking out, and we'll get up a few of those tweets, that they let go essentially all of the OGs, the ones that built Fortnite and scaled it, which is obviously relates to an insanely large percentage of Epic Games' success. Not that Epic Games weren't successful without Fortnite, but you can imagine that, Fortnite was the most popular game in the world for a number of years, and the revenue that it used to bring in was just absolutely nuts. So people are a bit like, where does this leave current employees? Because if it's not, if everyone was doing a great job and everyone's so good and it's not due to AI, why are we just why should I bother trying anymore at work? Like the phrasing, I think Tim has gone into to take a sort of like counter lean on this AI thing, but it's just backfired completely. Let me just show you the caliber of individuals that Epic Games decided to let go. So this was a thread that I was following last night, and it's basically so this guy here, Ivanosaurus at Evan Kinney, says, guess who got laid off today? I'm genuinely so confused and bewildered. Like I spent the past week debugging the rivalry system while recovering from pneumonia, and just in the past few days, I've had multiple directors tell me how much they appreciate everything I do. There was a thread around his work. It's called like top 150 most impactful people at Epic Games that was basically passed around, and like current employees and past employees were sort of like crowdsourcing information around who was contributing most to the company. Mm-hmm. This guy's or girls, I'm not sure if it's a guy or a girl, had the first line of his was built the engine, like the whole thing for Fortnite. That was his opening, but the bullet points were like, I worked on this specific part of
I built
this,
the first thing.
like niche, like skin, or like this specific like type of game. Theirs was, I built Fortnite. I built the thing that you guys, that we were talking about.
You
playing.
fired me, cool.
And they let them go, which I think this did 11.1 million views. So it stands to speak, if this individual isn't safe, then who is safe now? And it became very clear that the community was kind of rallying behind those that had been let go. This tweet obviously did 11.1 million views, 125,000 likes. This was only posted 2 days ago. 11.1 million views.
Yeah, bonkers.
Insane.
Yeah, not a great not a great innings for them.
Of that.
But I think we have our first guest in the show. Here we go.
We've got Sam, co-founder of Granola, joining the stream straight off the back of a very, very viral series.
Hello. Here we go.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us, man. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, absolute pleasure. What a day it's been for you today and yesterday, I assume. Another viral launch for Granola. This time it was a raise.
Yeah.
I mean, just break it down for us. Like, how did this come about? How long has this been in the works? And an amazing lineup of investors at a brilliant valuation as well.
Yeah, we I guess we've been talking to the folks at Index since the beginning, I think, on and off, started talking seriously like around Christmas, New Year's time, something like that. I think the product's growing really well, and so I think we've always had lots of investor interest, but it's been, and so I feel very lucky to get to kind of have a choice or a say in who we want to engage with and talk to.
Yeah, it's a nice place.
And partner with. Yeah, and Danny at Index was always one of our top, people we'd love to get to work with at some point. I don't know, the more we talk with him, I think the more we like him, the more I think he's a complement to what we have on the board at the moment. And so, I'm super stoked with it.
Awesome, dude. So
That's
cool.
awesome.
And speaking of growth, we were talking just when we started the show today about Granola's growth, and the phrasing that we were kind of discussing was it kind of crossed into the realms of verbiage. Like you could, I'm gonna Uber there, or did you Google that? And Luke and I have done this many times. We both use Granola, but it's hey, did you Granola that meeting? Because I can't, I didn't make it. What was this? Can you talk to us a little about that? Because for me, that's PMF in my mind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of hoped for that from the beginning, but you really don't want to get your hopes up about becoming a verb. It's a hard thing to believe is going to happen. But we started seeing it we had a year-ish from when we started working on the thing before putting it out into the world, and that while we were doing that, it was all kind of closed beta with a handful of users, just really studying how they used it and trying to make it useful for them. And we noticed that start to happen with the couple of users that we had. I think once you get in the habit of using it, then you feel kind of like you feel kind of naked without it. And it's both on the individual level, but also like when there's a team of people that all have Granola, like we'd get like the people using it telling us that I was in this meeting and we got halfway through and we realized no one was granolaing it and everyone freaked out and like and needed to jump on it straight away.
Lost context.
Dude, that should be in the deck, surely. Like when you're raising it around, like we've crossed verbiage. Like we're granolaing it.
Yeah. I love it.
No,
And
so awesome.
talk to us about the way that you guys set that up, right? When you mentioned you'd worked on Granola for, I think it was a year and a half before you launched, right? And talk to us about the early days of like, okay, we want this to become, we want to be able to do that. I think only very few founders, everyone wants their company to be a verbiage, but only very few founders are able to do it. Talk to us about that. I think I mentioned on the show earlier that you guys have become this. You're like one of the rare cases of you're bridging human and AI like in such a beautiful way. Talk to us a little bit about that and about the philosophy behind it.
Yeah, I guess I think so I was a designer, my co-founder's a product person. Like the thing that we know how to do well is design products that people like to use. But we're not very good at a lot of other stuff. Like I'm not a great salesperson or a marketer or anything like that. And so like I feel like we basically knew from the beginning the only way we win here is like by creating a great product experience. And so because of that, I think we were pretty reticent to launch something that we weren't really proud of and that wasn't like clearly working. And so we kind of, it took so long to launch because we were just kind of holding ourselves to a really high standard of like, are people actually, do they like this and are they using it? And so we like look very carefully at does each individual user, like how many meetings a day are they using us for and are they coming back again and again? And we just spent a lot of time with each person talking to them about what was working and what wasn't. And I think there's like very common advice in the startup world for a lot of good reasons to like launch early and just get your thing out there. But I think for us, it actually really played to our favor to kind of like just work with a tiny group of users that we could have really high bandwidth conversation with until we knew it was really working.
Yeah,
that's super interesting.
That makes so much sense. I guess within that as well, was there a moment internally where you guys were like, okay, this thing's really taking off? Like, I'm sure you were tracking internal metrics and just seeing how much it was being shared. Because I remember straight from the off, it was I think VCs were sort of discussing it the most, I think, if I remember correctly. But what was that one moment where you were like, oh God, this is getting a bit crazy?
Wait, honestly, I think we've historically been slow to realize when these behaviors are happening, like again and again. we launched, the numbers started like, all the numbers on the graph started going up and to the right.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow, okay, cool. But also this is like, this is going to end. Like, there's the classic like shark fin or whatever of like you get a huge
It's like the valley of
users and then it crashes down. We're like, shark fin's coming. and it was like a good 3 months of the shark fin like not arriving and they're just keeping going up before we were like, okay,
nice.
I feel good that we have product market fit finally. Like,
that's so cool. And about the raise, let's focus on that for a sec. And your new product kind of evolution, right? The thing that you're focusing on, the context, that kind of vibe. What's talk to us a little bit about that and give us the details about that. That's super interesting.
Yeah. So Granola, like, I guess, was initially designed as a single player product. And so like the way we grow right now is like it lands in a company via an individual finding us on Twitter or YouTube or whatever and tries it out. They like it. They talk about it with their coworkers. And so it spreads virally within the company. And I think we're at a point where like that's happened in enough companies where we have a lot of kind of big, kind of much larger companies using us. And I think that has helped show us that like there's so much value in a whole team using Granola to transcribe meetings inside the company and like being able to pull all of that context together. And I think the main value of that is it's like the perfect raw material for AI to do work with on top of that. And so like every AI forward company right now is trying to figure out what's the internal tooling, like that we need to set up so that like in the next couple of years, half of all the work in the company is going to be done by AI. And I think like transcripts of conversations are just like so rich and up to date. Like there's no more up to date like picture of what's happening in the company than the conversations that are happening in real time around that company. And so I think they kind of see that as an essential part of it. And the announcements yesterday were kind of all around enabling more of that. Like the API lets companies kind of build Granola into their internal systems. The team spaces lets people pull stuff into like shared spaces and use like each other's notes for different stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a powerful, like, I mean, that your phrasing there just sums up the whole thing. Like, what is the most up-to-date recent thing in the whole company is what everyone's just talking about that day, even that hour, even. So sick.
So I just wanted to ask you, do you find that it's going to become like this, like, company OS type thing where, it's just fully embedded, everything is behind, it's just there, always kind of listening type thing, and it has all of the context, because I think that's that's the main thing is context for AI, right? And you guys are in a perfect position to go and build things on top of it, as you mentioned. Do you find that Granola will just be that kind of company OS for so many different companies? Yeah,
I think so. I think that's a big part of the vision. Yeah, and like the game for us is like I think we should. We should build for that. There'll be parts of it that I think Granola owns, like the Granola UI owns, and there'll be parts of it that we like work with your other internal tools to deliver that. But I think it's insane. Like I guess we use Granola as I hope everyone else in the world would use it. We pull everything together, and like you can ask like what's what projects are going well right now, what's falling behind, or like what's up work from home policy, or any kind of question, and nobody had to like sit down and write up a doc, like you have to these days. It just knows from the conversations.
Wow,
that's so cool,
so powerful. I guess like the larger the company, the more accurate the data repository would be as well, right? If it's just recording it.
Yeah.
I guess enterprise push for you guys. Like obviously this cache is related to what I'm assuming is a US expansion. I think Luke mentioned you guys already have an office there. What is that? What do those next steps look like for the US as well?
Yeah, the US team all started this week. They're all in London, like with us for the first couple of weeks, and it's a lot of fun. Like all hanging out together. Like I guess we up until now we've been a purely London-based team. We're like 55 people in London, something like that. But the majority of our users in our especially our enterprise customers, are all in the US, and so we're basically building out go-to-market team in San Francisco so that we can be close to customers. And I mean, I hope to spend more time there. And I think a bunch of the other, like the products eng team, will also be spending more time there so that we can be closer and learning from the people that use the product the most.
Yeah, that's awesome. If we can, I'd love to go back again when Luke and I were just discussing Granola just before you came on. The AI like note-taking app space is obviously evolved. I think it doesn't do it justice to call it that now because it's definitely past that, as we're already discussing. But back in the earlier days, it was a hyper-competitive space. There were a lot of players. Like, why do you think you guys have been the one to kind of rise out of that?
There was a lot. It was kind of a daunting. We raised right away, and so we're talking to investors with just like when we had just the idea. And I mean, most people said no. They were like, "You guys are stupid. This is you're entering a market that's already got 1,000 different players in it." And, I think the thing that gave us confidence at the beginning was, yes, there were lots of these AI note taker, transcriber things out there, but if you actually speak to the people that use them, they just weren't super happy. Like often these things like automatically invite themselves to calls, and so often like I think a lot of the usage is like the bots are showing up even though people don't actually want them there or want to engage with them. Like an anecdote I like, which I think was telling, was like so many people that we interviewed who used one of these things would be like, oh yeah, I invite my bot to the meeting and I get a summary, but I also have like my notepad that I keep with me, like physical, and I write the stuff I care about there, and that's really what I go back to, and that's what I use afterwards.
Nice.
So that disconnect was like kind of, there's like something's clearly not working here.
That's so good, because like you guys obviously have, it's like you can do that with one sentence things and it would just come in. That's awesome.
I wanted to ask a question about physical, like AI where, it has context. We've talked before about having, like a necklace or something that can listen to your conversations when you're not online to, talking to someone. I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on that. If you see that space ever kind of being a big thing within the office.
Yeah. I think we're kind of always playing with these things. We have to get a feeling for it. I think the privacy and creepiness is like a real issue, and I think as technologists like to have a way higher tolerance than your average person and like to kind of brush those problems under the rug. But I think those are going to be huge barriers to people actually adopting these things and using them regularly. I have more confidence in meetings are nice because they're kind of like set pieces. People kind of walk into this moment together and agree that we're going to do work together now, and so that's a moment to have different social norms. And so I could see devices becoming more normal and more kind of automatically on in those contexts. We built the mobile app to serve this kind of context too, because it's just more socially okay to put a phone on the table and record a meeting that everybody's agreed is a meeting, rather than every passing thing happening in the corridors.
We were saying if you did that at the pub, you'd just never be invited back. But at the office, it's fine. Dude, so cool. We have probably 40 seconds left. Last question I want to ask is the rebrand. We were talking about that earlier. I think I loved it. It's kind of we used the words grainy but trustful and organic.
It being drawn with a pencil.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Any comments on that?
No way. There you go.
So
Did you design it as well? You're a designer. Did you design?
I am. No, we work with Ragged Edge, who are a really great branding agency. I think I was a kind of pain in the ass client. I was very hands on.
That's so good. That's so good.
Dude,
I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending the time. Congratulations again. And we'll have to get you back on soon with an update soon.
Yeah, love it.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
This was really fun. Yeah.
Good
nice
stuff.
one.
See you soon.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Awesome stuff.
That's Sam over at Granola, ladies and gentlemen. What an amazing guy.
I understand why their valuation's just gone absolutely mental.
Context OS.
OS, company OS. That's it.
Anyway,
I have Granola popping up on my Mac right now.
You'll have to see
We've
got the next guest coming in now, so I'm going to cut you off.
Sorry. Here we
Stefan
go.
at Squads coming into the studio.
Stefan at Squads.
We're going to be letting him live to the show. Just checking with our producer.
Yes, we can. We can. How's it going, dude?
No.
An undisclosed location.
And on location. We love that. You got and on DP and on location.
Why is it undisclosed? What's
Well, just, it sounds cooler. I also have my espresso as we discussed, so I'm ready to
Let's go.
We have our... I've finished mine, but coffee in the Framer mugs.
I'm a little bit embarrassed because was this a flat white or a
It was
latte?
a flat white. Yeah, it was a flat white.
Flat white's with a lot of milk, so not very European. It should actually be like an Americano.
Anyway, we have 15 minutes. Let's maybe an intro from you, who you are, what Squads is, what's Altitude, and then we'll go from there. We've got a bunch of questions.
Sure. So my name is Stefan. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Squads. I would say there's two arcs to our company story. So the first one was really, we built this operating system for larger teams in the space, institutions to manage digital assets, interact with DeFi, do kind of more complex workflows on the blockchain. Today, we secure about 10 billion in assets and 2 billion in stablecoins. And then really the second arc of the company is Altitude, where we sort of take a lot of the learnings and a lot of the similar infrastructure and applying that to how traditional businesses can actually run their entire financial operations using stablecoins, doing this on chain. And so Altitude is really this financial operating system that helps businesses run on stablecoins.
Nice, let's go. I'd love to just jump in straight away on the second piece there. How traditional businesses can work or utilize stablecoins to run their business internally. What's this cross-pollination like here? Obviously you're mixing stablecoins with traditional businesses. Is the adoption, are people happy to bring this in? Do you guys have to maybe do a bit of enabling, a bit of education on how to deploy this? What's the appetite like?
So I'd say from a product perspective, there is no, our thesis is that you shouldn't really care what's the underlying infrastructure, but it definitely helps to kind of increase usage right now and like gain a lot more customers when we actually acknowledge the technology we're using under the hood. Because in a lot of kind of geographies around the world, stablecoins are seen as a greater efficiency and like improvement on how you can store and move money and run your FinOps. And so today we very much acknowledge that we're building Altitude on top of programmable blockchains, on top of stablecoins, and soon on top of sort of agentic interfaces and automations. But really, like we're seeing a lot of businesses sort of naturally gravitate towards sort of the values that we kind of care about when we think about Altitude is really access, velocity, and autonomy, right? And so businesses that care about those things, and particularly, we kind of we think of them as frontier companies, frontier businesses that are willing to adopt the new technology much faster to then, actually be able to focus on their business and not kind of care about, FinOps and sort of these like operational workflows that are take away a lot of the time that you can actually spend on growing your business and increasing revenue and doing better things.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about the tailwinds of what's going on in stablecoins at the moment, where you can see the kind of first little innings of like agentic finance kind of coming in, how agents to agents will, how money will flow when business is a lot of agent to agent work. Talk to us a little bit about the, what's going on in the kind of financial industry in terms of agentic finance, I guess, and that kind of thing, because agents can't open standard bank accounts. They can't go and open a Mercury bank account, right? So talk to us a little bit about that. And I assume you guys are super excited because that's a massive, potential for growth for you guys.
Yeah, 100%. I would say there's probably like two ways to think about agentic finance, agentic commerce. There's like a lot of infrastructure that's being built with an assumption that agents will have their own intents, right? That essentially agents will do things on your behalf and they will kind of know you really well and buy things for you or kind of do things for you. We are really excited about it, but the way we think about agents is really in this kind of second bucket, where can we deploy these very vertical, hyper-focused agents that help you optimize really boring human workflows so you can just do less as a person, right? And so I think that's really how we kind of see the split. Tempo last week just announced their MTP, which is this kind of protocol for agentic finance that they're building on top of the blockchain. And then there's a lot more developments happening in terms of how you can actually give agents wallets, how you can give agents cards and let them do things. I would say in the context of Altitude and the way you kind of think about it broadly is that you will essentially have a bunch of agents that help you optimize, accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounting automations. And the idea is that over time, you as a business operator will have to do less and less, right? And I think that that development is also very much aligned with the idea that you used to need a lot more people to run a company. You used to need to fundraise a lot quicker. Now you can actually do this solo for a while and get a certain place in terms of revenue. And then if you want, you can go after VC, but that means your headcount can be small and you can really offset that by, deploying agents to help you run financial operations. So we're really excited about that part particularly. And when you think about if you look at the fintech ecosystem today that's not doing stuff with stablecoins, there's still, I would say, sort of distrust in agents, right? Like agents can be manipulated, they can be hacked. There's a lot of issues that can come up. And this is where actually pairing agentic interfaces and automations with blockchain is useful, because blockchains are incredibly inefficient computers, but they're really good at solving trust. And so if you pair this sort of probabilistic intelligence of agents with deterministic execution of blockchains, you can actually get to like end-to-end automated outcomes much faster, right? Like you basically will need a lot less human intervention in the loop, because you have the blockchain making sure that the agent doesn't go crazy, doesn't send you money to where you don't want it to be sent. And so this is where we're also very excited about kind of using these programmable blockchain foundations to do agentic things for a business.
Yeah, that's the key word there that I think seems to be trending-ish at the moment. And it's not even just in the crypto world or the agentic world, but is trust, right? Like a lot of these enterprises are looking for ways to like authentically communicate with their customers, with their employees. But we always discuss that we feel that's come off the back of, with the new sort of AI realm that we're kind of in now, where it's just, everything is the norm to have AI. There's kind of been this like shift in trust, like that almost like on average, there is less trust across the board in the ecosystem. Do you think that's happening? Do you think like you've seen that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think, trust is particularly if you're in financial services, that is absolutely paramount. I would say if you look at sort of how fintech is adopting AI, there's definitely kind of much more guardrails that fintech is introducing in terms of just humans in the loop. I think more broadly, we will see that evolve to a place where we'll be able to trust agents much more as the time progresses. And we are hoping to accelerate that by essentially pairing agents with blockchains and stablecoins. I think more broadly in the sort of AI ecosystem, like because it's moving so fast, right? There's a lot of a lot of issues come up because everybody is like utilizing agents to build stuff more. There is just I think a lot of the guardrails. And so when you think about OPSEC in terms of how a lot of businesses are run, those are being bypassed just for the sake of growth and making sure you use all the latest tools. I'm sure at some point we'll see repercussions of that, but that is really the cost of doing business. Like you have to adopt all the new things, and if you have the right kind of posture inside the company in terms of how you treat security, how you treat OPSEC, I'm sure you guys followed the SOC 2 drama last week, right? Like I think there's there's a lot of kind of posts publicly about how SOC 2 is just a meme and it's just stamp of approval and whatever. But at the end of the day, like it's nuanced, right? Like there's a lot of good things to SOC 2 in the sense of like a lot of the controls that it kind of forces you to have. There's a lot of benefits. The way you kind of get certified and who you actually work with to get there, that is something we discovered last week is actually important and matters. But I would say like all of this it will come together in a way where companies that are still thinking about security, thinking about OPSEC, and want to build trust with their customers will use AI in all the right ways. And then if you're thinking about a business that is looking to deploy agents to run their operations, I do think that companies that kind of think of financial operations and these kind of like accounts for businesses detached from a bank, where you can actually program a lot more things, you can have a lot more guardrails. I think this will really allow us to accelerate in terms of how you can actually deploy agents to do things on behalf of a business.
Yeah, definitely. Doubling down on that, then I think it's something crazy like $10 billion flow through squads at the moment, something like that. And is that for like trading, or is like Solana being used for like actual operations like payroll and more operational stuff in the business? How does that money actually be like? How is that money actually being used?
Yeah, so I would say when we started in the first couple of years of the company, it was all about like very crypto native things, right? It was like large institutions, larger protocols, securing, different kinds of tokens, interacting with DeFi, and earning yield. I think the reason we actually built Altitude and started sort of going on this journey about a year ago was really because we saw a lot of these companies start using our very crypto native product as if it's their business bank account. They would start deploying a lot more stable coins. They would start doing payroll, paying vendors. So we have seen that like, through our product pretty early on. And then Altitude is really a way for us to say, okay, this is like the exact way you should be doing this in a way that doesn't, impose any crypto knowledge on you, right? Like you can actually do it in a way that feels like it's a business bank account that you're used to, but it really is powered by a completely different stack and different architecture. And that is also kind of, when we started in crypto, this idea of like be your own bank and that you don't need a bank to actually run your operations as a company. Now we are able actually to deliver that, where we do believe that in the future, like banks will seem as like legacy technology and with all the inefficiencies that they have. And when you actually go and say, this is a financial operating system, not a bank account, that opens up a very large design space in terms of where you can take the product. And we have seen this, firsthand with our own products, but generally the stablecoin ecosystem is obviously exploding. Even, since we're on ETN, like even USC, right, more than doubled in the last year. And so it's not just dollar stablecoins. There's kind of a lot more demand for like multi-currency and being able to hold. Now USC is probably the biggest non-USD stablecoin, but I'm sure we'll see more of that come to market as we go.
Yeah. And you guys are trying to, I think I read you're trying to make blockchain infrastructure like boring, right? Where it's not this kind of like exciting and like, experimental kind of, industry. It's becoming fundamentally important for how businesses, interact with money. Can you talk to us a little bit about the kind of consumer side and how you guys want to be like consumer facing and how you market that to people and show that this blockchain infrastructure that you guys are building is inherently boring, but it's important. How does that work?
I think boring is really important, right? Because there's definitely crazy innovations that are happening in the space, but at the end of the day, you have to sort of bridge the gap, right? And like actually bring real businesses onto platform. And so the idea is that at the end of the day, this is just infrastructure. Like when a business is choosing an account to, deposit their money into, they care about actual things you can do for them, right? And so our job is really to just convey to the customer that here's all the new capabilities that we unlock, while also making sure that expense management, spend, security, and kind of matching your enterprise controls when it comes to managing money, all of that is present and better, right? And it has an added benefit of being true and us actually being able to deliver that. But I would say that has really been the core thesis for us is that blockchains are incredible for payments and trading, and there's going to be more innovation across the space. But we really want to harness this technology to actually deliver, experiences for businesses that allows them to move off traditional banking to just fundamentally better infrastructure that will be, tangible and future-proof for them to run their business.
Nice. Could we ask as well, like what again, Luke and I are not like native to the crypto space, but obviously, what is it like in the space right now that people are most excited about?
I would say agentic finance, agentic commerce is really big. That has definitely been on people's minds. I would say DeFi is, it's a never-ending pursuit to get to a place where you can have, much larger exposure in terms of who can, in terms of consumers and businesses feeling comfortable to earn yield through different DeFi products. And I think, every year the ecosystem is becoming more hardened, and we're opening more and more access to customers. So I would say DeFi and kind of being able to earn yield through alternative asset structures is big. And then RWA, right? Like you're seeing a lot more sort of traditional tokenized assets come on chain and gain exposure to just a much larger market, right? And more geographies. And I do think that with all the Clarity Act and things that are happening from a regulatory perspective in the US, you're going to see a lot more of that sort of in the coming year, because it will really pave the way for us to, have tokenized money market funds and kind of a lot more things that you've come to use to interact in traditional finance will actually come on chain. And so I'd say those probably are the top three at the moment.
Yeah, awesome, dude. We are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. We loved the on my way to ETN fit drop on X as well. That was dope. So yeah, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for coming, guys. This was awesome.
Have a good one, dude. Ciao, ciao.
Good to meet you. Good stuff. Before we have our next guest on, Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on-chain. Go to base.org. I think we have our next guest in.
I think Ben is in the waiting room.
Ben, can you hear us?
Ben at Bullhound Capital.
Yeah. How's it going?
Stuff. Ben, how are we? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's our absolute pleasure. Where do we even start? I mean, probably best to when Luke mentioned that you were coming on, I immediately thought of GP Bullhound, not Bullhound Capital, and then I realized what the difference was. But maybe for the stream and the viewers at home, could you just explain? They are obviously both connected. One is a venture arm and one is traditional PE, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So GP Bullhound, as you guys have probably heard, we've been around for about 25 years. We're very well known as an advisor, an M&A advisor to technology companies. So if you're a European founder, you have a business worth maybe 500 to $1 billion, you're probably speaking to one of our bankers about thinking about what your exit might look like. And so we tend to advise on exits to private equity groups, but also more and more these days to strategics, Google, the Metas in Silicon Valley. So we had our first office in San Francisco in 2005, really kind of showcasing European tech companies to US investors. And that kind of changed that dynamic and that kind of ambition about European companies, when they started thinking going global rather than just selling out really early. Now, Bullhound Capital, we've been investing alongside for about 15 years, but I think about 10 years ago, the team decided, right, we're really going to go for it now. So Bullhound Capital is a separate business. We are the investment arm. We invest in growth stage, and these days predominantly deep tech companies.
Nice. I have two questions off the back of this. One is that what are you guys seeing just related to acquisitions, because you guys are obviously experts in this field, specifically within tech. Are we seeing, because I feel like we are from my point of view on LinkedIn and X and maybe like a few of the traditional
bunch of people.
Yeah, traditional media outlets, but a sort of like an acceleration in the frequency of acquisitions. It seems that the larger hyperscalers are consistently on shopping sprees now. It's a lot because they need to get to a certain point quicker. Why don't we just buy the whole thing instead of trying to compete with it? Is this a trend that we're seeing?
Whoa, that's a big gold question. So yes, I think you're right. I think there's a few stages to that. Is what's happening is companies are getting built more quickly, right? You've seen some of the companies you've had on your show and some of the big stars out there, even in Europe, right? Companies like Lovable going from 0 to 100 million in basically a year or so. And Anthropic, what started last year at 1 billion is now in the 20 billions. So companies are growing super fast. But then, of course, you've got the incumbents that have been making huge amounts of money. And obviously, they're listed too. So they have share prices, which they can use as a buying currency as well. So there's a massive race with the big players. They don't want to get caught out. So they are acquiring these companies. And these companies are coming through more quickly. So more companies to be acquired, big pots of cash to be acquiring. So it's interesting that on the advisory side of the business, I think if you speak to the bankers on that side, they'll say that a lot more is going to strategic buyers these days, whereas maybe 5-10 years ago, it was private equity that were the buyers. Now you're seeing more going to strategics, and they're probably a little bit more price insensitive. So private equity buyers thinking, right, if I buy now, I want to sell this investment in 5 years, I need to get in at a good price. But a strategic is protecting their overall business. They've got, billions of revenue to protect. They're probably a little bit more price insensitive and will come in sometimes even just acqui-buy, right? It's just buying the team and grabbing that technology to stop the competitors get it.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I guess on the other side, I'd love to ask a little bit more broadly about, you mentioned the growth stage investing. A very common European narrative is that, we will fund these companies early doors, maybe to up until Series C, which is maybe already getting too late. And then we'll see American entities come in, typically growth investors, and pile a load of money in, and then sort of they will stay with them until IPO or exit. Is this actually true? Or is Europe at a sort of disadvantage compared to these US mega funds? What are you guys seeing on the ground?
I think you're right. I think it is true. I think, to be fair, Europe is trying. But, we have found ourselves in a bit of a niche position, because over the last few years, we've developed a team predominantly of PhDs with academic backgrounds to really understand the deeper technologies that Europe is creating, right? There's no doubt that Europe is such a wonderful home for academic brilliance, innovation. But as you say, what's tended to be the problem is commercialization. So great people coming out of our universities not really being able to commercialize those businesses and take the money they need to really make them big, and then eventually going to the US. The great example of that we always quote is DeepMind, right? Being acquired by Google, and really powers the whole backbone of Google, but that is, a UK company essentially. There is a problem at the growth stage, and we've tried to plug that hole ourselves. We come in, we invest tickets of up to maybe 40-50 million into growth stage companies. The key is who is leading the round. So what we're seeing in the deeper technologies is, around the world, there are a lot of follower investors. So you can go to the sovereign wealth in the Middle East, you can go down to pension funds across Southeast Asia and even Europe as well, but they don't have the expertise to lead the round by understanding the technology and pricing that technology. So what they need is a lead investor with deep expertise in the space to say, we price it at this, we're putting our money where our mouth is, we're putting in 50 million. And then actually you can bring in a lot of growth capital into that round on your term sheet. But right now, I think in Europe, there's probably only about 4 or 5 funds that are really actively doing that. You might look at the Bouldertons and a couple of others like that. And we are one of those crowds. The thing is, we don't have mega funds the way the US guys do, right? So a fund like ours in the US would be probably 5 billion. And our next fund is going to be 500 million. So that's the issue, is the ticket size. Even for us, we're kind of punching above our weight. Is still an issue. But I must say, European governments in particular are trying to back funds like ours. I don't know, you've probably discussed it before, though. The hole in the whole platform is the pension funds. The pension funds just aren't backing European VC. And I know there's lots of plans in place, policies coming through to try and fix that, but it's not happening quickly enough.
Yeah.
I want to ask about how much influence do you guys as Bullhound have on these, larger kind of sovereign funds, pension funds? Is there any influence? Like, is there any interaction with it, or is it literally you've got to keep doing your job and hope that they eventually kind of turn around and come in one day? What is the dynamic there?
Yeah, so in terms of sovereigns, I guess if you talk about state money, actually Europe is very active.
Yeah.
So, the British Business Bank is fantastic. Even countries like Spain, for instance, have very large sovereign wealth that they're putting directly into companies and funds. We all know how important the European Investment Fund is. It sits at the heart of our whole ecosystem, really. There wouldn't be an ecosystem without the European Investment Fund. All across Germany, Poland, they're all there. It's the pension fund money that has evolved in a certain way with certain limits around things like fees that don't fit the model for a VC. We're a 2 and 20. We want 2% management fee and 20% carry. The fee model just for UK pension funds doesn't permit that. There's a limit at 75 basis points, basically.
Right.
So these are very fundamental issues that need to be sorted both at regulator level and government level, really. And they're trying. But at the end of the day, if you're running a pension fund in, say, the northeast of England, and you're a trustee and it's your responsibility to look after those people's money, you're not going to be taking too much risk, right? You don't want to take risk unless somebody's backing you on that. So we need to work with the government on that, and the BVCA and everyone's trying. It is a systemic problem, not just in the UK though, across Europe.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about you've kind of been a key voice in the fact that Europe can't rely on US and Chinese infrastructure going forward. Can you talk to us a little bit? Because we talk to a lot of people, obviously, with the show, and the amount of companies being started now, the amount of excitement from what we're getting is really, really high. And we talk to people who have been in the industries for, decades or longer. And they say, hey, like now is the time that we, a narrative shift has happened. Can you talk to us a little bit about the future? Like what does the next 10 years look like? Is there a huge tailwind for Europe right now? Or is there not?
Well, yes, is the answer to that. We believe firmly there is a huge tailwind. I've been kind of raising these funds. We're up to our 7th fund now. It has been difficult to raise money from commercial investors when you're saying to people, well, we're investing predominantly in Europe. And they're saying, well, why would I invest in Europe when I can invest in the US? All the big companies are being created there. What about Europe is there that's interesting? Yeah. Where's the edge? And it has been hard to explain where the edge is. Yeah, you can talk about valuations, you can talk about academic universities. What has happened over the last 3 years is there's been a big change, right? So the first thing that happened is, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever, is the conflict in the East, right? So Ukraine, Russia has suddenly put a spotlight on the types of technologies required for modern warfare. Firstly. Secondly, of course, Mr. Trump himself has changed the dynamics of the relationship with Europe. He wants to improve trade negotiations for the US, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not getting on the politics of it. But what it's made Europe realize is that the technology we rely on the US for is actually a weakness for us from a policy negotiation point of view. What would happen if Trump turned us off from OpenAI or Claude tomorrow?
Yeah.
So Europe needs to start thinking about all of its critical technology being rebuilt locally so you can rely on the suppliers. And to be fair, France has done quite a good job in that. They have Mistral, they have their own nuclear power stations. But in the UK in particular, we've been very dependent on that relationship. Now, that's an opportunity for us as an investor, because suddenly what the UK government and many European governments are saying is, right, we need to stimulate this technology here. And it's not going to be with the incumbents. If you look at the dual use sector or the defense sector, they're not looking to buy tanks and helicopters anymore. They need drones and they need counter drones. And that's not coming out of the primes. That's coming out of technology startups. So how do they stimulate those startups? One, there's an investment community, but also importantly, there's the procurement is buying technology from startups. And that's a huge shift that's happened in the last 3 years. You know, you said there was a drone tender recently in Germany, and you know it was Stark and it was Helsing that won that tender.
Yeah.
You know, the primes didn't get a look in.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened 3 or 4 years ago. And we know that, you know, Europe is trying to increase its spending to honor these NATO pledges. Another trillion has been released just off the back of the Ukraine conflict. So even if 10 or 20 or 30% of that extra NATO spending is going on buying equipment or technology from technology companies, that is a huge opportunity. That is a huge revenue boost for European tech companies. And what we're seeing is deep tech these days. A lot of our deep tech companies in Fund 6 started off as commercial vendors. Now they're finding much more opportunity in selling to governments to get into that stream of cash. So they're developing their technologies, their deeper technologies, to have use in the dual use space, not necessarily for weaponry, but communications, intelligence, even sovereignty, right? Being able to keep that compute here and locally. So yes, I would say for international investors, it's the first time I'm having these conversations, and they want to invest in European technology companies. And that's a great thing for all of us.
No, beautifully summed up. I think we agree with all the sentiments there. We're coming up to the last minute of the interview. Maybe just specifically with Bullhound and what you guys are working on right now. What is something you guys are really excited about for the year coming up? Anything that fans of the team can look forward to.
And you've invested in some mad companies. I think you have Revolut on your portfolio. Is that right? Revolut,
we do.
Obviously,
yeah.
Just released their earnings or their record profits, which is cool. Now a UK bank. Maybe talk to us a little bit about that as well. Talk to us about the portfolio.
Well, yeah, I mean, Revolut's a monster, right? What Nick's doing is incredible. I think Europe should be very proud. That's all the good things in Europe, right? They've taken fintech, which is something that the UK is particularly good at, and just multiplied it by 1 million. Fantastic company, growing in valuations the whole time. We're very happy investors there since 2018. So that's been huge for our 4th fund, which was great. What we're really excited about now, we're very interested in quantum technologies. I must say, I think, again, the AI race has been won by the US. But if you look at quantum, that race is there to be won. The UK government is being very ambitious. They announced last week another $1 billion to purchase quantum computers. This is fantastic. Fantastic for that industry. So that's really interesting for us. Of course, dual use and space. The issue around these industries is staying disciplined, because valuations can take off super quickly. Yeah. So, we're going to start revolving a little bit more into health, I think, through this portfolio, because the overlap between AI and health, I mean, it is the sector that creates the most amount of data out of all traditional industries. So that's the one I think will start to revolve into a little bit, and there's huge opportunities there too.
Wow.
Amazing.
Super interesting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
You have to come back
on the show anytime.
So good.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Nice one, Ben. Cheers.
Bye.
See you soon. Before we have our next guest on, leave our daily business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all-in-one platform. Go to airwallex.com.
Up next,
here we go.
We have Michelle Yu, co-founder and CEO of Super Critical, who has just recently achieved a world first. Michelle, welcome to the European Technology Network. It is a pleasure to have you on, and congratulations on the news.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
No, our absolute pleasure. Why don't we just get straight into it? We'd love to know a little bit more about this deal that happened. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday that it was announced that Supercritical had helped sort of commission and facilitate this deal with Microsoft and another incumbent. Can you maybe talk about some of the figures of this deal? Because we were told it was a world's first for carbon removal.
Yeah, so we facilitated a 1 million ton offtake with an American biochar project called LifeRaft, and it's the biggest offtake for a US-based biochar project, and we worked really closely with the project to design it from the ground up and help them get through the Microsoft process.
So awesome. And I'm realizing now, I was sort of so excited to get that out that we've forgotten to ask you to introduce yourself and the company. So maybe,
no worries.
Maybe for the viewers and the listeners, we can start with that. So sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So hi, I'm Michelle. I'm founder and CEO of Supercritical. We're a carbon removal marketplace. And for those of you who don't know, carbon removal is a form of technology that absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and stores it in forms. The best pathway is probably direct air capture that most of your viewers might know, but there's loads of different technologies that do this, and biochar is one of them, and it's the one that we know best and sell the most of as a marketplace. So as a marketplace, we help corporates structure the portfolio of carbon credits that they're going to buy. And I guess the background science market context is, even if we decarbonize everything and electrify, we still need to remove billions of tons of carbon dioxide by 2050 in order to stay below a safe level of warming. So this is trickling down to corporates with net zero goals who need to procure this carbon removal, and we match buyers with a portfolio of high quality credits. And what we've started to do is actually partner with projects to make sure that they're reaching the right scale and quality criteria to meet the standards of some of the biggest buyers in the world, of which Microsoft is one.
So awesome! Wow, like like not the other missions are not real, but like a real like sort of planet-wide global mission, which is so cool to discuss. You mentioned there this sort of the possibility of what sort of companies have to adhere to in order to stabilize the climate and stay below a certain temperature degree. Can you maybe just explain this problem and situation that we are facing right now within those guidelines?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the AI hyperscalers like Microsoft is a great real world example of how this is happening in real time. So basically, to reach net zero, you need to reduce your emissions as much as possible, switch to renewables, insulate your home, whatever it might be. But there are some emissions that you cannot reduce with technology because it doesn't exist. Like aviation is one of them, farming. There are these things called residual emissions where the technology doesn't exist to get it to a zero emissions, state. So that's what carbon removal comes in. It does. It actually actively captures CO2 from the atmosphere and stores it. So the way biochar does this is plants absorb CO2 as they grow. And instead of allowing the waste biomass from a farm or lumber decompose and re-emit that CO2, it puts it through a process called pyrolysis, which converts it into this stable charcoal-like substance that stores the carbon dioxide in that charcoal for centuries. And for farmers, it has an amazing additional benefit in that biochar can help reduce the need for fertilizer input, which is why we're so happy to partner with LifeRaft, because that's how the end biochar is being used. It's helping to reduce fertilizer needs for farms. And so any company that has committed to net zero, of which 1/3 of global market cap has done that through the Science Based Targets Initiative voluntarily, they will need to remove millions of tons of carbon removal by 2050, right? And the state of the market is that even though we need gigatons, to date, our technologies have removed millions of tons. So we need this insane scaling curve to get up to the billions of tons capacity that we need. And as supercritical, we're trying to fill out that market infrastructure to make sure that we hit our targets. And when you look at a company like Microsoft, who has a net negative goal by 2030, which is incredibly ambitious. They don't want to just get to net zero. They want to remove more than they emit. That has become even more challenging with this data center build out, where their emissions are only growing. They're building more. They're kind of using steel, concrete, all of which emits. They're having to buy fossil fuel energy because renewables haven't yet reached the scale that's required. So as they're doing this in real time and their emissions grow, they're kind of removing carbon at pace. And we see this as a net zero infrastructure build out. So they look at how do the group building materials that they use for the data centers emit? How does the energy procurement help them reduce emissions? And then how much carbon removal will they need to actually reach net zero? And we play in that carbon removal piece.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the I guess the acceleration of building of these data centers with every other hyperscaler as well?
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about when that's happening in the industry? You guys are kind of directly trying to trying to remove all of that carbon, and that's just it's almost like a zero sum game. It's really hard. Talk to us a little bit about that dynamic, because I imagine that's pretty tough.
I actually don't see it as a zero sum game. I see it more as like a holistic strategy of net zero infrastructure. So as you invest in green steel rather than polluting steel, how many emissions are you limiting? And the more you need to buy polluting steel, for example, the more carbon we need to buy. And I think seeing it as a holistic infrastructure build out is the way we look at it. But you're right. There is this runaway problem of data center emissions are exploding. No one really understood that back in 2020 when most of these companies made these commitments. But I think what Microsoft is doing, which is incredibly ambitious, is they're sticking firm to their 2030 target. And what they've said is this moonshot means the moon has just gotten farther away, which is absolutely true. And all the other hyperscalers, by the way, have the similar net zero targets. Google has a 2030 net zero target. Meta has a 2040 net zero target. And when we're like 5 to 10 years away from this, they need to get serious about how much carbon removal they'll need and the scaling challenge there.
Yeah, I was just sorry to jump in. I was about to ask, like, and it's kind of made me shift my thought on that. You saying that these people have bought into a certain net zero emission target by 2030, 2040. Like, I was going to suggest that is there not, from my sort of limited understanding, but would there be like a cultural sort of understanding that you guys would have to work on, or I guess the industry would have to work on, as well as a technological gap? Like, so you kind of find.
Yes, there's a lot of education needed in the market. It is. I mean, it's twofold. I think we have gotten really good at identifying who's ready and who's there, who kind of understands the need for carbon removal. And I think the industry, I started the company in 2021, and the entire concept of net zero has become a lot more commonly understood. There's backlash to it, obviously, but it's now well received that to get to net zero, you both need to decarbonize and remove. Whereas I would say when I started, that removal piece was just ignored and no one thought about it. And they thought it was, just a license to pollute, which it's not at all. Like, this is required. So yeah, there's a huge education journey. And we have an amazing team that's great at doing that. Like, my climate science director is on the board of all of these guidance bodies, and she understands where the market is and what the science requires. And I think that brings credibility to the discussion as well.
Yeah. These the C-suite thinking about of these hyperscalers, are they directly thinking, hey, we're now going to build this data center, we need to actively make sure that this is adhering to our, to the plans that we've made out to reach net zero? Is that an active thought for a lot of these companies? Because you can imagine, in the AI race, it kind of gets all, bundled up, right? With Sam Altman and Dario kind of competing against each other is super tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in those rooms, so I can't speak to exactly what the discussion is internally. But even before the AI race, data centers and these data center builders, Google especially, they were leading the charge around renewable energy procurement. So they formed this market mechanism where they would do a power purchase agreement, which is an offtake. They would say, okay, if you build this wind farm, I will buy this energy from you, which is a financial mechanism that allows that wind farm, that project, to raise debt to build out the CapEx, right? So this is a financial structure that already happens in renewables that Google and Microsoft really pioneered, and they're bringing that same learning to carbon removal, which is the same sort of requirement of project CapEx build out off the back of a contract and an offtake. So they're very experienced in it. It's happening at a exponentially larger scale with this data center explosion, right? But they from the outside, from my understanding, they're committed to it and thinking about it holistically.
Yeah, awesome. If I can, I'd love to ask, I guess it's more of like a mission related question for you personally. Like, previously, like, co-founder, chief product officer of Songkick, that had like an amazing success, raised from some amazing investors. Venture partner at Local Globe. We are friends at Local Globe. Shout out to Amy and the team and Saul. That is traditionally a pretty different industry to what you're doing now. Where was like the moment where you were like, this needs to be done and I'm gonna have to be the one that's gonna do it because no one else is?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I mean, it's very personal, and yes, like what we're building right now is much more around markets and financial mechanisms, but I'm a software founder at heart, right? Like, I look anywhere I can to automate and make things more efficient. And we build a lot of internal tools around this project development piece that is, using AI in the best way possible to make sure that we are efficient and fast. But you're right, it's more of a market and financial engineering challenge than a software product challenge. And really, that was like when I sold Songkick, I didn't think I'd start another company. I didn't want to start another company. But I basically, I was like, I'm not a serial entrepreneur. It's not interesting to me, but I had my first kid in 2018. That's his Lego right there behind me. And
Let's go.
a month after he was born, the IPCC report, the UN body of scientists report around needing to get to net zero by 2050 came out. So it's like, we need to get to net zero emissions by 2050. When you have a kid, you're like, oh shit, you're going to be 32 years old in 2050. Like, that's not that long away. I don't think we have this problem sorted. I got really freaked out and depressed. And then, the only way I could get out of that was like, what can I do about this problem? And that's really when I asked Saul, like, he was the first angel into Songkick. Like, I'm such a huge fan of his. I just said, I want to do something in climate, but I don't know what. Can I just sit with you guys and look at climate investments and learn and like meet people? And he's like, yeah, I mean, come join. And so I sat there for 2 years, looked at climate investments, got to know the team really well. They led Supercritical seed round. And by the way, Lightspeed led our Series A. So like, they believe in venture scale returns here. It's just about faith in where, this is a non-negotiable. We need it. It will get to billions of tons. It's about how fast we get there, how we build the market infrastructure to get there. So that was just a calling towards this problem and this challenge. And I didn't think about it as I guess like what product. It's just like, I want to build for this mission to solve this problem, and I can recruit an amazing team to do that. And so that's what we're doing, and we'll do whatever it takes, right?
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
so cool.
Yeah,
Congrats
one
to you.
One of the stronger missions on the show for sure.
That's awesome. I love that so much.
Michelle, where can we send people? Where can we we've just got like less than a minute left. Where can we point viewers? Is there a web page?
Go supercritical.com. Email me, michelle@gosupercritical.com. Like, a lot of our clients are tech clients, right? Like faculty is a client of ours, like loads of tech founders believe in this and understand it and get really excited by the technologies that we're innovating with. So get in touch and buy some carbon removal. Offset your private jets.
There you go. So you heard it here first.
Thank you so much for joining us, spending time with us today. We've thoroughly enjoyed it, and welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be back. Bye.
Cheers,
Good stuff. Great to meet you. Amazing stuff. Before we have the next guest on, Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. I believe we have our next guest.
We got Samuel in the house.
Samuel, can you hear us? Yes, we can. How's it going? The main man, the man of the hour.
Complain.
Let's jump straight into it. Let's talk about the project. So this was dropped on X. It was revealed it is Cursor for hardware. You have left your position at Veed. Before we actually start, let's just a little bit on Veed. Shout out to their team. We were seeing, the dynamics of you announcing it and then leaving. Do you want to just maybe say a little bit about your time there and the response from the whole team, from Saba included?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So my time there was incredible. Like, I joined very, very early on. We were doing, I think, 2 million in revenue. We were not venture backed. And basically Saba told me, like, you can join all the conversations, like your co-founder, and have a good time. So that was amazing. And had a great 5 years. We grew from, I think, 2 million to about 50 million, grew from 20 people, I think, when I joined, to like 160, 170 today. So it's been a great journey. And obviously I was scared to tell that I was gonna leave. But when I announced my departure, Saba was like, "Oh, that's amazing. That's the best way to leave. How can I invest? I want to support you, and let's get you wrapped up really quickly. So you can go do your own thing." Which, to be honest, like, it's not a given that people are so founder friendly. And I think Veed is a great company, and also a great company to join if you ever want to do your own thing.
So cool. Love to hear that. A nice founder friendly founder. Back in.
You love those guys.
Back in it. Let's talk about the launch. Let's talk about. So you filmed this video. You've put it on X. You did pretty well. Like last time I checked, it was sort of like 40,000 impressions. That was only a few hours after you launched it. What is the new business?
Yeah. So Schematic is basically, I call it, to make it easy for everybody, I call it the Cursor for hardware. But when you think about building hardware, it's a very multifaceted and complicated problem. And if we look at what hardware looks like today, it's actually just stuck 20, 30 years ago. Like all the processes, all the ways of working are still stuck in the past. And one thing, I realized while kind of trying to learn more about making hardware, making robots, those types of things, was that, software has seen this incredible rise in new tools. And now a lot of people that are noobs like myself can make incredible software with things like Lovable or I guess Response or Framer. But for hardware, this is not the case. Like, if you want to learn hardware, it feels like you're writing assembly code in the 80s. It's scary. You need to own all of these parts. You need to read data sheets, which are like literally 300-page documents on like a button. So yeah, it's just a very fragmented and boring problem that I want to make really fun and easy.
Dude,
I love
that's
it.
so cool.
And
That's gonna be a fun journey.
Talk to us about the project itself, schematic. What will a user be able to do? Like once you've built it,
Yeah, so you can actually already try it out right now. It's on
nice.
schematic.io, but basically you have a huge prompt box and it asks you, what do you want to build? It's really good for things like, for example, IoT projects. So let's say you want to build like a temperature sensor for your house with an e-ink display. You can type that in, and then what schematic will do is it will figure out which parts you need. And that already is like really, really useful because whenever you're doing a hardware project, you often need to buy parts, but it's really hard to know which ones. So we'll figure out which parts you need, and it will pick parts that work well together. Then it will tell you how to wire these parts up in the right way. So yeah, put a cable from this thing into this thing, from that thing into that thing. And then the last thing it will do is it will write code that will, that is, how do you say, that understands in which pin or which cable is connected to what. So it understands it all. It will give you a tutorial on how to do all of this, and then you can also deploy to the microcontroller that you use. So, for example, Arduino or Raspberry Pi, you might be familiar. So you can deploy from the app, and then the thing will work. And that's a magical thing. Like when I tried this out for the first time, it was really like doing 3D printing for the first time. You do something on your computer, and then suddenly there's something in the physical space. It's the most magical feeling ever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about the launch to get this out there. Like, I think that inherently Veed, and I am assuming there were learnings from your time there, obviously, but like Veed has been a very good sort of viral launcher, very video first. The launch video that you did, I guess it's like the new meta for like founder-led marketing. I know Sab has been very good at this in the past as well. Can you maybe like talk a little bit about founder-led marketing in 2026? Is it something that you guys have been leaning into in the past, and is it something that you're going to lean into now?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think in general, like right now, it's so easy to build stuff with software. Like it's super easy. So, building a great product is no longer a very strong moat. A lot of people can build really cool things over the weekend. So the most important thing is really reaching your customers. And I think one of the ways to distribute well is through founder-led marketing. I think video is one of the most powerful mediums in the world. And yeah, I was very lucky that at Veed, I could kind of learn how to make great videos and hone in on my skills. And now that I'm off on my own, I can use those skills. So like my initial video about schematic, I think it had over 400,000 views on X. And that's because it was not my first video ever. It was like my 50th video. But not the one, but this one was about my own project. So that was really great. And yeah, I think this type of marketing is really powerful these days.
Yeah, I love it. I wanted to ask about the, you've mentioned a lot on how software, someone can spend a weekend and build something super cool on the software side. What does the future of hardware look like? Does it look like, me and Ronan go home one day and the next morning we come into the studio and I've built this thing and Ronan's built something else and we've got the physical product like right there? Like how, what is everyone building their own kind of like physical things now? Like what does the future of hardware look like, especially with schematic now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. So the way I look at hardware is like I'm trying to take a lot of the learnings from software and bring them into hardware. Obviously, when you're building hardware, it is harder. You're dealing with physical components, you're dealing with electricity. They're just it is more complicated. But I think in a world where software is more easy to build, we're gonna solve a lot of the software problems, and then we're gonna turn to the actual problems in this world, which are all physical problems, right? Like I think that's why I'm so excited about building hardware, because like you can actually solve a lot of problems with it.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a big surge in hardware development around the world. I think a lot of software developers are going to pivot to hardware, and they're not going to be using the current tools, because if you look at the current tools, you need to have an electrical engineering degree in order to understand how to use those. So I think they'll be using hopefully schematic, or at least tools like schematic, that's for sure. And yeah, I definitely think those tools will increase iteration speed and speed of development. So I hope you guys can go out on the weekend and come back with a physical product. That would be amazing. But until we're there, I think every little speed increase in the development cycle of hardware is worth so much to businesses that it makes total sense.
We've got to get a something we built on schematic. We've got to get it on the desk.
Get it on the stream here. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because like I feel that we've had like 3 epochs almost of I guess trends for wherever venture individuals are putting their money, and I guess usually it's like wherever the venture teams are focused on putting their money, the builders will sometimes build around that as well. But it was it's hardware originally in the earlier days of this whole sort of landscape that we sit in, then software. Then it's kind of shifting back to hardware now, like the pendulum's kind of switching back to what was, I guess, kickstarted the whole venture capital and startup space, really, right? Like, why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think 2 things. I think software is cheaper to build, so you might not need as much venture capital as you used to need back in the days. I think the other thing is like if you look at, there's a lot of uncertainty about what the software world will look like. Are we just going to prompt everything that we need on demand? So I think hardware gives you more certainty. There's definitely stronger moats in hardware. And I think lastly is the point I made earlier. Like, I think if you really want to improve people's lives, you need to fix their physical problems. You need to make sure, if you want to have if you look at, your house, like what will make your house perfect? It's when it's always clean. Your clothes are always washed. There's always food in the fridge and food on demand. All of those things are physical problems. You can't have an app that cleans your laundry. So I think venture capitalists are realizing that the biggest kind of improvements to our well-being are physical improvements.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of venture capitalists, are you going to be speaking to any for the new project?
I'm not sure. We'll see. I think there's a lot to build. So I'm definitely curious to see how that would go. Yeah.
Nice. And when did you what's the plan now? I guess once now you've launched, like, are you mentioned you still got stuff to build. Is it both building and the marketing side? Are you trying to onboard people as well? Like, what does the kind of near future look like for Schematic?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to hire engineers and designers to help me build. I think that's the highest prior right now. And then as I do that, I can focus a little bit more on distribution myself. So that's the goal. But I think I can't really not build and ship new things. I'm trying to make the product a little bit better every single day. But I think one of my biggest challenges right now is finding the people to build this with.
Yeah, nice. Can I ask, when was it that you decided? And we haven't even discussed this yet, which is we should have started with it. when was it when you decided that okay, I've been on the operating side to a senior level as well, an executive position. When was it when you were you wanted to take the founder plunge and just jump in and big announcement, build a team around you? When was that?
Yeah, I think I've wanted to be a founder for a very long time, but I knew that if I was going to do it, I wanted it to be something that was actually going to get really big and that I had very high conviction of. So when I built Schematic, the first initial version, and started using it myself and felt the magic of it, and then started showing it to other people that were doing projects in hardware, and they were all responding to it so well. That's when I really realized even if I don't get it right on the first go, this area will get really, really big. And I wanna be driving that change. I think it's so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where can we like how can the stream support? Where can we position people? Where can we? You mentioned hiring. Like, is this? Yeah, if we start pinging your people tomorrow, can you hire them?
Yeah. No, for sure. I'd love to hire people. So if you want to join this journey, send me a message. I'm Samuel Beek on Twitter. And yeah, otherwise, go try out the product. For example, for you guys, maybe it's nice to have like a live counter of how many people are watching or something like that. You can totally make those types of things with the tool, and you can try it out at schematic.io.
Oh, mate, we should get playing in this thing
Yeah,
tonight.
we'll get
We can do
going.
some impressions. Last question, I guess, for the interview. Why do you think? And this is something that's typically uncommon. We haven't seen it before, and it's around Veed and it's around Saba's request. I think I saw he mentioned. Oh, you mentioned earlier on the stream as well. But he did it in tweet format. You know, he reshared your post and was like, "Where can come and give Sam some support?" Why do you think like founders like Saba are the way they are in terms of very supportive of people internally? They're happy to, because it's not a common thing. Like if people leave startups, even today, you don't have the founder saying like, hey, this is great that you're leaving. This is great that you're moving on. How can I even invest in this exit? You know, really uncommon thing. Like why, is this a Veed culture thing? Is this a Saba thing?
I think Veed culture has always been super founder and side project friendly. I think that's something that he really likes. I think he really believes that people that are hacking away on the weekend are also really great employees because they're curious. They want to figure out what's going on in the market. So he's always encouraged that a lot. And I think in general, like he's just a good person. I think he has a good heart. And I think, he wants the best for me and for this product. And I think, you can be very annoying and be like, oh, I'm going to give you a very sour goodbye. That won't make anyone happy, won't make me happy. And, who knows what happens in the future. Maybe I can help him with something, but also it won't make the employees happy. Like if you work at a company where people that are leaving are celebrated, I think that's a much better way to end the journey than to be sour, bitter about it. So yeah, huge kudos to him. And I think he's an example for many other CEOs and founders in the space.
Yeah, we definitely look up to him. He's a really cool guy.
100%.
Yeah,
Giving us loads of advice.
Thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with everything. Keep us updated. And we'll see you soon.
We come back on when you raise your pre-seed.
Who knows? All right, guys. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Samuel. Have a good one. So
amazing
awesome.
stuff.
Good luck.
Before we have our next guest on, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com. We have our next guest in the stream, I believe. James, can you hear us? Here we go.
Coming into the stream live on European
Jens,
Technology
the
Network.
founding GP
Welcome.
at Bitcraft VC. How's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you for having me, guys.
No, thank you for joining us. I think straight off the bat, can we ask? Was it janitor also role on the LinkedIn?
Yeah, I don't care that much for titles. I think sort of actions speak louder than words, and I intentionally want to make clear to everybody, my team, portfolio, like I'm here to get sort of stuff done, and if it requires like getting the bathroom in place, then that's part of the job.
There you go.
That's so awesome. I have a burning question to just go straight in, and it goes right back to earlier days. It's something that I'm personally interested in and have been, so I'm kind of selfishly stealing the opportunity to ask you this. Can you maybe talk about ESL and the early esports days and I guess like how that landscape has changed? It's somewhat relevant today because we're seeing this whole Epic Games Fortnite situation going off. But I would just love to ask a question about that, those early days, from LAN parties all the way up to what we experience now.
For sure. How much time do we have? So trying to squeeze this all out is what defined my life, and I think what defines an ever larger part of society right now. Of the learnings I made, sort of when I was younger, avid video gamer, technology enthusiast, somehow picked up an engineering degree in software technology, and sort of when video games in the 90s sort of finally stepped up to get connected through the internet. And the first games such as Command & Conquer, Doom, and Quake in particular, which is a game that shaped my life like nothing else, sort of playing in these video game worlds that now all of a sudden connected multiple different actors, players in one immersive world to interact with each other is what sort of profoundly changed my view on the future of video games, which I always considered the greatest form of art and entertainment. But it sort of the interaction with each other at the time, where I was playing with friends, with what became friends from places I didn't know where they are. I didn't know the color of their skin, their religion, whatever. Like, we just had fun together and we followed the same purpose, the same intentions. And then I realized that community formation in these connected digital worlds was something that had a profound impact on how you play video games and how you interact with other people. And so much of my time in what I created, talk about user-generated content. Yes, that was a thing in the 90s already in video games. Talk about, we built our own skins in Quake, right? We modded our own maps. And then we met in IRC, which was like the Slack of the 90s. It's still around, by the way, if you want a great multi communication platform. So we formed communities, and that was the birth of sort of ESL ultimately, like a bunch of people coming together. I found people that all wanted to build the same stuff, and like, hey, can you do the graphics? Can you do the website? And all of a sudden, it became the company. It became like the foundation for this league in video games. And sort of the way that I grew up and I built my first business on the back of that was a profound belief and a strong belief that this level of immersion, this level of synchronous multiplayer immersion, is what will shape humanity in the future. For me, it was the predecessor and sort of the guide into a virtual reality that humanity would spend ever more time in, like in the simulation, if you want so. Yeah. And secondly, it was basically all remote building. Like, I built a remote company in the 90s, and that's how sort of I got started, because I didn't have to sort of take care of somebody being with me or where he came from. It's just like, okay, what can you do? Can you get a job done? Let's fucking go, right? So that was the origination. How does that connect to today if you talk about esports? See, I think esports with when I started that in the late 90s, I was way too early. I believe there was way more people than myself, like true geeks, I probably call myself, that like would enjoy other people playing video games. And it was not, right? Like, our office was next to this big arena in Cologne, the Lanxess Arena, which now hosts what is called the Cathedral of Counter-Strike, an amazing tournament taking place in 3 months again. You have to be there. So I'm going to fill this thing up in 5 years from now. People are going to come, people are going to watch, and it's going to be spectacular. Well, 50 people showed up in a basement in Cologne for like the finals of the Pro Series, right? And I was like, man, am I doing the wrong thing? Like, is this like, I'm at the only person around here that enjoys that? And the reality was, it took generations and generations of sort of new gamers to grow up with video games as their first entertainment preference. And ultimately, with an intrinsic understanding and desire, like, yeah, video games are a sport. That's how it is, right? And so we had to educate, grow with an audience and grow into an audience to finally fill that stadium up in 2012. A very rewarding moment. So way too early, but it played out. Now, esports has been overhyped in the 2015, 16, 17 years in particular. It was on the back of what you know as Battle Royale, and Fortnite was the, I'd say, like, most profound incarnation of Battle Royale, because it was so beautifully presentable as well. You know, so the media covered it big time. At the same time, Twitch streamers went mainstream, esports everywhere, and then in particular, US investors sort of believed this is going to be the next NBA, right? Very, very quickly. And so a lot of money was pouring in. It has challenged the ecosystem as player salaries have been rising very quickly. Publishers and developers started their own leagues. What could have been an ecosystem growing organically over time was distorted by too much capital coming in too quickly. There is analogies in the traditional sports world that show you that that has happened in other sports as well at times, and it was not necessarily good. European soccer in the early 2000s, when sort of foreign money moved in, was not looking particularly good a couple of years later as well. Now, it's been going through a phase of consolidation. I think we're on the tail end of it. And I'd say the underlying numbers in esports are still trending strongly, right? Like the viewership, attendance is all going up as new audiences join esports as a primary sports preference. and the entertainment quality certainly is still increasing year over year. So
Yeah.
it's been a very, very long journey for what is likely still going to become the largest sport on the planet.
Yeah, it's
There you
funny
go.
you mentioned that, because I feel like when watching it from the inside, it's kind of like we had the old school LAN parties for like FaZe Clans, Modern Warfare 2s, whatever it was. That was kind of the next evolution from that OG community in the early 2000s. And then, when we saw streamers like Tfue, Ninja, all these sort of Fortnite pros pairing, like those people were essentially marketing Fortnite for them. But it wasn't too soon after that we have like the Fortnite World Cup, for example, which I think at the time was probably like the thing that kind of maybe flipped the switch in terms of viewership for these esports players. It does seem like what you said. It's kind of happened so quickly that it was maybe overdone. Now it's receding, but on a good level back up to where it should be.
That's probably a good summary. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I've been hogging.
No. Should we move to now and I guess the future? I wanted to touch on specifically your focus on world models and like what's going on in that space. I know you did the deal with Blue Owl, and that's enabled you guys to like tap that market a little bit and get into the world models side. Can you talk to us about the focus behind world models specifically?
Well, confusing a couple of things. So number one, I would not say that we're focused on world models. I do believe, I'm not sure where that information is coming from, because we did not invest profoundly in world models. We do have investments in that direction, and I'm certainly excited about it, and can elaborate on that. But it would be a false statement if we would say we're focused on world models, and would also be false to say that Blue Owl and the strategic investment that they have conducted in Bitcraft would be what has anchored such thing potentially. So the latter part is the easier part. Blue Owl has acquired a stake in Bitcraft. We were probably one of the first managers in Europe, and also one of the first like venture managers to receive an investment as a venture manager. It's like smaller compared to what they typically do, private equity stake space. So we were probably the first ones to get there, and this was sort of investment that was done to allow us to continue to grow the platform. We are very happy with our partnership with them. They help us across the board to grow as a firm and as a platform. Now, that though has nothing directly to do with what do we invest in. Certainly they liked our investment focus and our vision of where does sort of the future of entertainment and experience go. But to get then to the second part, world models are relevant to us as they will bring forward the capabilities to create, operate like this simulation, if you want. So what I talked about before, like video games ultimately are a 3D simulation, right? And like, how do you produce that? How do you have it operate and run in real time? So that is something that is dominated currently by a core of a video games engine, plus a bunch of tooling and infrastructure around it. Now, world models will sort of distort or disrupt that quite significantly in a positive sense, as you will be able to provide fully immersible video game worlds, entertainment worlds, by just prompting a model. Now, today you can create assets that an engine utilizes fairly quickly with AI, but generating an entire world is still beyond what we can do today. Now, when that happens, if that happens, and maybe Jan LeCun will bring us there faster, likely he will. Now, that will likely have a very disruptive impact on the video game space, which I'd say broadly challenges investing in the space today. As you know, I think expectation probably 3-4 years from now, we're probably going to have single player world models available. Single player, so that you join and experience a video game for that sake, and as a single player, and will enjoy that it's coherent, it's consistent, it will like work over a longer run and play times. Now, when that happens, and the generation of these worlds to that extent gets so much more accessible, the barriers are getting so much lower. Like, how do valuations in this space then play out? You know, the fundamental skills of how do you create fun for people will still be required. Creativity will still be the same, but the barrier of sort of resources that you need to spend to get there, even with great games engines today, and even with asset generation at faster scale with low resources today through AI tooling and generative models already. But like when that happens, what does it mean for multiples in the space in particular? How does my exit environment, if I invest in video games today, how does my exit path then look like in 3, 4, 5 years from now when such disruptive technology like hits the space? And then the path to the multiplayer like generative world model is probably another 2, 3, 4 years behind it. It's significantly more complex and challenging. But when that happens, sort of all hell breaks loose, I guess. So I'd say broadly, we're very interested in world models, since they also have massive implication in the robotics world, obviously, and on physical AI. Valuations are quite something. Yeah. So we want to be mindful of that, and we want to see like where do we play and how do we play that. I don't think there's just only going to be one winner in the space. We're looking closely. We participated here and there, but for the video game space, it's going to be probably the single most profound change since sort of we have seen the arrival of, let's say, the smartphone as a new device, a new platform, or free to play as a new sort of gaming business model. It will disrupt quite a lot.
Do you think it would be fair to say that this is kind of the evolution to the metaverse that people kind of hoped for in a way? It hasn't lived up to previous expectations in terms of like the simulated reality in which people not necessarily game, but VR headsets did step us into that world a little bit. It was kind of like the first step. Is this, would you feel that from a gaming perspective, this is what that should have been in a sense? Because we've seen Meta scale it back and it's kind of being deprioritized right now.
No. It is just one aspect of what ultimately brings together the characteristics of a metaverse. The metaverse in itself is a term that describes sort of a state of immersion in a physical clone, in a digital clone of the physical world, sort of simply speaking. And all these different aspects that have to come together to make it qualify as a metaverse are sort of, they're multiple, and a world model would not be the single most deciding factor in making that happen. I'll give you one example on the other side. If you want to create something that sort of somehow resembles what we have in the real world, like asset ownership and transferability is a fairly important property, right? And so a world model will not help us with that. That is blockchain technology that helps us with that. And sort of, I'm not shilling sort of Web3 here or something, and it struggled a lot in the gaming space, even though there is and was a lot of promise, yet it is multiple different technologies across networking, sort of across rendering pipelines, across sort of asset ownership through blockchain, for example, that all come together and bring us to something that ever more closely resembles what is the definition of a metaverse. Like if there's anything, I would quote Matt Ball, who I probably call the person who's like the most capable of describing what the metaverse is, and famous for his publications. It's like Roblox today, and I'm sure you heard about the game, about 600 million players, like very popular with the young audience. It's probably the closest that we have today of what we would call a metaverse.
I see. You can like have jobs in here. It's incredibly customizable. It's almost like a society within the game, right?
Exactly. It's very accessible. You have like sort of semi-digital property in there, transferability, like shared access across multiple different experiences that are all interconnected, accessible across all different platforms. So it's probably the closest of what we had. They're still far away from where we need to get to. But hell, with the technology, like what AI does, and when we talk about world models, as part of the AI landscape, AI is pushing everything forward, right? If you think what AI does in terms of inspiring innovation in the semiconductor space, and semiconductor again is communications as well. So the innovation cycle that's triggered with the technical acceleration of AI is what accelerates all the other aspects as well in how they will come forward. Blockchain as well. As you see when you discuss sort of AI agentic behavior, the blockchain will become profoundly important for agentic behavior and cross-agentic transaction behavior. So it's sort of accelerating everything, right? So AI in itself and world models as a part of the AI landscape are not the one single driver, but the larger technical acceleration across the board that AI triggers is bringing forward ever more closely what the metaverse is to like in front of us in our eyes, in our experience.
I see.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've never heard it sort of simmed up in terms of like previous conversations. It's always been a single entity, not like the multiple different things coming together, multiple different sort of frontier technological changes coming together in a certain place, which I guess now is, not there, but yeah, it's becoming more and more likely. I'm cautious. We've already run over by 2 minutes. We always tend to get somewhat sidetracked and carried away on tangents. You'll have to come back on another time.
We'd love to.
And yeah, dig into this a little bit more. That's we've had a great time. Appreciate it. And
thank you so much for having me.
Anytime, Jens.
Good stuff. Great to meet you.
Cheers, dude. Thank you.
I am just checking our next guest.
Georgia Stevenson, partner at Index Ventures, is next on the show. Just checking with our people. Our people are reaching out to their people to see if they are still joining. While we wait for the next guest, let me tell you about our friends over there at Polymarket. It's the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. You can do that at polymarket.com. We can also jump into
let's go into the
town square
Yeah,
and just see what people are discussing today. This one in particular is Stunt of the Week. So let's just get this up because this is just absolutely beautiful. Let me find this. I think it's number 7. There it is. Stunt of the Week. This was by the Aikido security team. This is Madeline Lawrence. We've had Madeline on the show before. She leads growth over at Aikido Security. This is brilliant. So Madeline says, hired these dudes on the internet to walk around RSA as Neo and not say anything. Give them an Oscar. And these guys are literally... Look at the concentration on that guy's face. He is
seriously locked in.
He is absolutely locked in.
Is it only that guy?
I think there were maybe a couple. I'm not sure if it was 1 or 2, but I wanna sort of stamp this down as
that is the stunt of the week.
Maybe stunt of the week.
Congrats to Madeline Lawrence. She is doing great work over there at Aikido.
This was done at I guess some sort of security conference. This was the booth. They also had another booth that they'd kind of stitched together with wooden sort of broken panels. Intentionally looking a little bit thrown together because they had graffitied on the side. We spent all of our marketing budget on the product, but that is Aikido winning stunt of the month. Well done to Madeline Lawrence, Chief Growth Officer over there and friend of the stream.
Indeed. Demis Hassabis, this is quite funny because he's referenced his 2 a.m. thoughts. I just thought it was quite nice. Demis Hassabis has said, perfect background music for flow state at 2 a.m. Made with the new Lyra 3 Pro. Google AI subscribers can try it in the Gemini app and developers can build with it in the API. Have fun. It's quite...
Hell yeah.
You can imagine Demis just like rocking out to this at 2 a.m.
If you're
absolutely locked in,
so this
building
is like,
frontier AI models.
This is the AI geniuses version of like lo-fi chill music. You know, like the one that you used to put on when you were like revising or something on YouTube. This is Demis's version of lo-fi chill. For Google AI subscribers can try it in the Gemini app.
On Tuesday we had we went through the ChatGPT bracelet. And we were giving our takes.
Oh yeah.
Coinbase has come out with a take.
What's their take?
Dear algorithm, please stop this trend.
Coinbase are not happy with the bracelet trend. Did it take off that much? The bracelet thing?
Easily, a lot.
I think we have our next guest.
Hello, can you hear us? You can hear us.
We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the European Technology Network, and also congratulations on the recent news. How is it? How is it internally at Index?
We're very excited, and I think the response is testament to what a community of evangelists Granola has built. So it's been awesome. Are you granolaing this, by the way?
We should be Granola.
I do have the Granola app, and it pops up. It tells me when a next guest is coming on and like how long we've got left and all of that kind of stuff. That's actually one of my favorite features. It like shows me at the top of my like laptop how long we have with a guest.
Oh, because it has like
and then it pops
it's
up when
booked
the
in with
next guest is meant to come on. It's so useful.
It's funny that you mentioned the community of evangelists around it. A lot of the discussions we were having with Sam earlier and right at the start of the show when it was just Luke and I sort of riffing on the news of the day was how quickly this thing took off, but also in a really funny way, how quickly it took off with all the people that would be likely to invest in it. Like I feel like VC market was where originally Granola kind of got most of its firepower from early customers. I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, look, so maybe taking a step back, then going to that, it's like, what's become, I think, pretty obvious to us all, and I think particularly then across the VC landscape, this is not a hot take, is that AI is going to replace humans in a lot of ways. But what is maybe less obvious but equally exciting is just how it can bring out the most human parts of us to make us more impactful, right? So there's this theme of like how we bridging humanity with productivity, and VCs take a lot of meetings, and a perfect example of this is meetings. And what we're interested in is the fact that meetings have almost been typecast as this sort of necessary evil, this waste of time. When you think of meetings, you think of the guy with the sign being like, this could have been an email. And that narrative has kind of been very strong, for at least as long as I can remember. And one of the things that Chris and Sam, one of the things that make them so special is that they like say these things that sound obvious, but are actually uniquely contrarian. And this is one of them, that meetings are where a lot of the actual work happens, the brainstorms, the plans, the negotiations, etc. And so what you realize is like meetings are actually good. It's just we haven't had the infrastructure to make them good. And a lot of the context that is built and generated in that room, evaporates as soon as it's over. So I think that's what we all realized when we started using Granola, right? It's like without like the awkward bots, without the long, unreadable transcripts, it just gave us the freedom to be fully present because you're no longer worrying about when your next guest is on. And then it also enhanced so much from the, that flowed from the meeting itself. So I think that's what we've been so struck by and are so excited by. It's like, it's incredibly powerful to think how you can kind of harness the power of this human context and put it to work in so many different ways.
Yeah,
it's weird. Just quick on the, it's weird how much like we didn't really understand how much those like earlier ones sucked when it would join the meeting, because you don't know whether to like kick it if that's rude. Are you then like, is that like rude on the other person? Do you think that they potentially wanted it in there?
Yeah, all of these other like layers of
there's so much
complexity, right?
friction, right? And it makes the experience even worse to the point where you'd rather just not have it in there. Which I mean, hindsight sounds simple back then. Like I guess not. High level, just why Index Ventures? Why are you leading Granola's Series C?
Yeah, so firstly, I think, we've all been users for a long time, right? So it comes from a very, personal space for a lot of us in terms of how it's transformed our workflows. And to our detriment, we were users before we were investors. So we're kind of catching up now. But look, I think, at Index, we've seen this pattern before where individual evangelists, it spreads from people talking about it to their colleagues and their teams to subtly becoming instrumental in how a business functions, right? We've seen it with Slack, with Dropbox, with Notion, with Figma. And so that pattern of that kind of grassroots movement to critical enterprise infrastructure is where we have time and time again seen the power of that and made great investments off the back of that. And so that's what made us super excited seeing the magic that Granola has generated in such a short period of time as well.
Yeah, so powerful.
And at Index, you're investing C to Series A, kind of in the consumer stuff, retail, marketplaces. I wanted to talk to you a lot about like the community side of it, and we can bring in Granola if we want to, but what's your like personal thesis behind how you get a community behind something that's inherently not built for humans, really. Like, AI is, you can see so many companies really doing it well, but then also companies not doing it so well. And Granola is in the former, where they've built a very strong community just off the back of, they don't have large social medias or anything. It's everyone is using it because it's an inherently viral product.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it goes back to this theme of how AI can enable us to kind of double down on what makes us human. And I think, granola is a great example of that. I don't know whether you guys had your granola crunched or saw that, amazing campaign they did at the end of the year. But, it was fun and it was shareable, but it was also pretty like deeply introspective, right? How we show up in meetings, how we engage with people. And I think that's just the beginning of us understanding, again, back to this, like the power of context that it's building about us and how we can then leverage that to make us more impactful. That's one. I think, when we look at products that have successfully built a community, I like to think that, the way that product makes us feel is so reflective of the characteristics of the founders who have built it. So I think, the testament of the community and the evangelism is so much down to how Chris and Sam have approached building and, how they are, right? Like they have a relentless focus on the customer. And I know that came across with Sam earlier. They are, constantly ruthlessly prioritizing and have that kind of first principles dissection of what makes granola special and how people feel around it. But they also do everything in their own authentic way. Nothing is contrived or manufactured. Like they've got their own tone of voice. They've got their own brand. And I think people love authenticity. People are craving authenticity and will continue to do so. And I think that artful combination of like business value and authenticity and playfulness is so rare, and it so encapsulates both Chris and Sam and the DNA that they then have spread across the business. So we're super excited by that.
I love it. It's very cool. I guess maybe not a personal question, but I guess more of a question on you yourself. Like you've been at Index for almost 7 years. Can you maybe describe or I guess theorize like what we've seen over that course of time, specifically within the application layer? Like we're seeing a lot of these. I mean, Dash Zero came out as a unicorn the other day. Granola, this takes them over $1 billion valuation. These are all sort of European application layer companies. Like, is there some sort of, I don't know, like trend or like advantage that Europe seems to have around like maybe the model layer? Yes, we have Mistral, but it's not exactly at the stage that some of the other larger labs are at. But the application layer seems to be our sweet spot, if you will.
Yeah, look, I think so on the kind of the Europe US question, in some ways I feel like Index have never asked that question. Our whole DNA has been on amazing entrepreneurs building all types of businesses, can come from anywhere. And when we were set up 30 years ago this year in Europe, it was very much how can we bring that Silicon Valley style investing to amazing talent within Europe. So that stayed very consistent. I think what obviously is less consistent and what is just absolutely sort of astronomical is like the time that we're finding ourselves in, right? And firstly, what an amazing, fascinating time to do this job, but also what a washing machine of like. It feels like we're in a washing machine, right? Like what is an application anymore? What is infrastructure? Like how do we think about all these different pockets and frameworks that we've built up for so long, but then kind of in some ways seem to become crashing down and everything's being reinvented. So we don't tend to be too sort of dogmatic or disciplined of like, hey, if you're an X, you should build Y, or like Y is only going to get to, but I think it just goes back to the theme that I am personally excited about is how can you pair the amazing productivity and capacity that AI can give us with also the making us, double down on what's human, what makes us different, what makes us special, and be in a world where we continue to thrive as AI thrives versus like essentially flounder. I think that theme, whether you're building infrastructure or application or a marketplace or any different kind of business, it doesn't matter. I think that theme is what I'm personally most excited by.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I guess like what have we got to look forward to from Index this year? Is there a particular like sector? I think a lot of the conversations that we're having recently is that we've and even discussed earlier on the show today is that there's kind of been this 3 epochs of transition throughout the venture world. Maybe hardware originally, then a time of software, and now it's maybe shifting a little bit more back to hardware, or it's becoming a little bit more popular than it was previously. Is this something that the team is looking at and focusing on? Is this something that the team is excited about?
Yeah, I think we definitely, I would almost describe that as like a top-down approach, and we're very much bottoms up, right? It's like trying to be the first call to the best talent, both across Europe and the US. Understand that the best talent will probably have the best ideas of what to build. Be, as early a partner to them as possible, which, hopefully is coming across in some of the stories that we've had coming out to date about Wiz and Scale and Figma. And then, see what they build in this super exciting time. So yeah, for us, it's always been about the people. It continues to be about the people. We could not be more honored to be partnering with Chris and Sam and the rest of the team. And yeah, we're looking for brilliant people to build brilliant things. And it doesn't matter whether it's software or hardware or anything between. We'll start with that.
So awesome.
Love it.
So cool.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, we're 2 minutes over, so we'll have to let you go. But thank you so much for joining us, Georgia. It's been an absolute pleasure, and congrats again on all the amazing stuff you guys are doing.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks a lot. Ciao.
Yeah,
Bye.
have a good one. Bye-bye. Awesome stuff.
Awesome.
That is Georgia Stevenson over at Index Ventures.
Indeed. Framer, build better sites faster. The all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. Go to framer.com/ETN. That is it for guests. Should we jump into the town hall for a little bit and then we're good?
Yeah. I'd love to get this up. Where is it? This guy catching Miley Cyrus on the M dashes. This is Joseph at High Slip. The extra space in between show and it's where she took out the M dash that ChatGPT generated.
Oh.
This guy, he's got eyes like a hawk. He is watching you, Miley Cyrus, and he's looking for your AI generated content. You can see here where my cursor is that there is an extra space. Following the Celebrating Hannah Montana isn't just honoring a show, it's a full circle moment for me. And it would not be too surprising to find an M dash in between that show and it. Just our thoughts over here at ETN, but that's a great spot from Joseph. Maybe M dash spot of the week.
We're just going to create all of these categories. Just category them up.
You love it.
Yeah, obviously, Meek Mill's been like flooding the timeline recently. VCs trying to get on board, getting checks in. I'm pretty sure friend of the show, Alex McDonald, was in his comments.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Did you see YC? But he replied to them. He was like, let's sort it.
That's decent.
So maybe
100% deal is going to happen.
Imagine you're at YC and you're like, I've obviously never been through YC, but I imagine it's somewhat college-like in a way where you have like your cohort and blah, blah, blah. I think that the average age of the one that was maybe 2 years ago or the year after that was maybe the 2024 or 2023.
Yeah.
The average age was around like 17 to 18. It was really young.
Yeah.
So you just have like a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds in a room, and then you just got Meek Mill in there, like building.
Surely he's not like
he would, dude. He's on it. Like he's fully because someone.
It's super interesting. He wants to create. He was like, I've got this huge audience. I want to create like context behind the audience.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He was
like, I want to build. I want.
He would get funded.
Connect this and connect that. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, he's got money, but he's also got kind of influence, power. And
he's got
10 million followers on X. Like he's got distribution.
100%. Someone made a post and tweeted out around like breaking. Meek Mill has raised a certain amount from like someone obviously came out and said it was fake, but it did the absolute rounds. It got like over 2 million impressions. I think I can't remember who posted it, but Meek had retweeted it like, oh yeah, like laugh it up, like you think that a rapper can't I'm too stupid maybe to build this, like that's not cool. And then like the team came out and said they were actually big fans of his,
because he tweeted it. I was like, I need a VC. YC was like, hit us up, Meek. And exec some screenshot it and tweeted, "This app is free." So Meek Mill entering.
Perfect
entertainment for midweek shenanigans is always fun.
There's one thing I want to pull up here that I think is really cool.
Do the last thing.
This is last one of the stream. But this is Schrodinger's valuation.
Oh yeah.
This is really cool from Adam
This is cool.
Robinson. I forget, he very, very big on LinkedIn. I think he's built most of his.
This guy's an absolute retention.com.
Yeah.
Absolute machine of a company.
Adam Robinson goes, I talk to delusional Series A founders every day. So now I just tell them this. If your company is under 10 million ARR, burns over 200K a month, and has low gross retention, you are not worth 50 to 100 million to anyone. It doesn't matter what your investors or your bankers tell you. Dirk Salma from FE International has done nearly 6 years in SaaS M&A and hundreds of valuation conversations. He calls it Schrodinger's valuation. And he's right. Check it out and start recognizing what game you're actually playing. Don't waste the next 10 years chasing a fantasy. I'm just going to zoom into these like this, I think, just so it stays okay for the stream. I'm checking with Ola. Is that looking okay? No, maybe if I zoom out a bit like that. Keep
Surely
it like
just
that.
click on the image.
No, because then it blows up and it doesn't fit the thing.
Not in there.
No. Dirk says, the cat is dead. You just haven't opened the box yet. After nearly 6 years in SaaS M&A and hundreds of valuation conversations, I've noticed something fascinating. VC-backed founders and their investors can walk around believing their company is worth 50 million for years, right up until the moment they tried to sell it for 8 million. And it's like, we won't go over the whole thing, but that alone kind of describes what is speaking about Schrodinger's valuation. You can walk around like a $50 million founder on paper, but the moment you try and sell this thing, I mean, it's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it, right? And that is like, you could either never try and find a buyer and walk around your whole life. You'd never open the box and look at the cat your whole life, and your valuation would never change. It would always stay at 50 million. But if you want to sell this thing, you have to find a buyer for the right price. And Schrodinger's valuation is just such a beautiful way to sum the whole thing up. So I was a huge fan of that. Wanted to get it in there. Maybe what do we call that one?
Go and sell your
reference of the week.
Reference of the week. Let's go.
But that is a team effort from Adam Robinson and Dirk Salma.
Team of the week. Leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Go to airwallex.com. That is the show. We will see you next week.